All right. Hey there, Knicks fans. Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
Hey, John. I'm okay. How are you?
Uh, that's a gut punch. I first true heartbreaker of the season, as far as I'm concerned. Um, the Knicks lose. Damn it! Really wanted that one. I really wanted that one for Jalen Brunson, more than for myself, more than because I want the Knicks to do anything this year because they're not going to. I wanted that one for Jalen Brunson because Jalen Brunson has been everything anyone could have asked for, and then something exponentially times that. And once again, put the team on his back in the fourth quarter tonight. And for him to miss those last two shots when he had hit literally everything else in the fourth quarter, heartbreaker. That the Knicks drop 127-123 to the Memphis Grizzlies to polish off their second straight home loss. This one had a bit of a different feel than the one to Portland the other night without Damian Lillard. We'll talk about that. We'll obviously talk mostly about this before we get to the comments. I don't know. I thought this was pretty hard. What say you, Mr. Cohen?
Obviously the result is not what I expected, but if I'm being honest, just purely from a basketball standpoint, I really enjoyed the game.
Oh, it's a great game.
I wanted the result, but the game itself was so much fun. The way that the Knicks clawed back, even with the atrocious 3-point shooting, where the Knicks are now last in the NBA in that category, which is very frustrating. They still were able to rally around, and I don't know, there's something about this Memphis team where they just play them really close, and
yeah,
it was just nice to see them hang in with them and just claw their way back. And again, it wasn't what we wanted. It wasn't the win, but it didn't, like you said, yes, it didn't feel like the Portland game where it kind of like you let it slip. This was there for the taking, but I always felt, look, the Grizzlies are a better team than the Knicks. John Morant is a really great point guard, great player. They have a chance, and they're missing Desmond Bane. You can do something with it, and they came close. Wasn't their night, but still fun.
I admire your ability to look at games rationally. Like I've filtered out almost all other emotions that I once had as a fan. But I can't a game like this, to lose a game like this, it's absolutely
I get, listen, if you're hurting, if other
crushed.
people are hurting, like I totally get why that's the case. It's just I don't know, man, like on Friday, for example, when the Knicks were doing well, it was like Jalen Brunson is him, where it seemed like the Knicks had a chance of winning. And then they go on to lose, and the moment they go on to lose or things just don't go well in overtime, it's a tidal wave of negativity. And it's like a lot of it's warranted, don't get me wrong, but it's just amazing how the result can change so much of what the thoughts and feelings are. Not for you specifically, just in general.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Just for this, like this one game, I loved it. Wish it was a win. Wish it were a win. Wasn't.
Yeah,
there's Detroit. So
on to Detroit. Look, there's a lot of good that the Knicks did tonight. There's a lot of good stuff going on with the team right now. For as much as listening to conversations about the team amongst the fan base would lead you to believe otherwise, there are good things happening with individual players, just team-wide stuff. The losses this season have largely been frustrating because you feel like there are things happening within the losses. And this, I think, is what you're referring to in the Portland game, where you're like, man, this is easily correctable stuff, or maybe not easily correctable, but it's like, just imagine this team with this player not here, or replaced with like a different version, or like if this player wasn't playing as badly as he is, and not really hiding who I'm referring to there. Tonight there wasn't as much of that. I mean, you had your usual half dozen Julius Randle, like what are you doing on defense plays? Although the biggest defensive gaffe of the night it wasn't a gaffe. It was not a gaffe, but it was emblematic of so much of what we've seen this year, especially in comparison to when you watch Quentin Grimes play defense, when you watch Emmanuel quickly play defense. And, I know he had a little bit of a tougher time with Ja tonight than Quentin did, but when you watch Cam Reddish play defense, Dylan Brooks hit a big three with, what was it, a couple minutes ago? Something I forget when, but it was a big three off a kick out from and they defended the Ja Morant pick and roll as well as you could defend it. And he kicked out, and RJ is just he's late getting out. He's late getting a hand up. He doesn't want to give a full contest because he's worried he's going to get blown by. Because guess what? I forget when it was, but somewhere else down the stretch of the game, where RJ gave a full contest on Dylan Brooks out at the top of the 3-point arc, guess what happened? He got blown by, and it led to something bad. And that's, those are the things that are frustrating about this team right now, is where there's big pieces of this roster where you're like, oh my God, how are we going anywhere with these guys playing like this? Or, in some cases with these guys just here, period. But I'm not trying to focus on that right now. Trying to focus on the good. Jalen Brunson, another great game despite missing the last two shots, just like he did miss the last shot in Portland. We should at least acknowledge that. He was the best player on both nights. I'm not dinging him for that. And some other good stuff. Where do you want to go after that? I mean, who's the next? What's the next topic that comes to your mind tonight after Jalen Brunson?
I still want to talk about Jalen Brunson. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, talk about it, please.
I love him. I love him. I think the fact that it just shows who he is, where he was clearly coming into this game hurt. He was questionable to play.
Oh, he's hobbled.
And he was right. And then he steps on the cameraman and turns his ankle and has to limp off and then comes back. And he still was phenomenal. He's a gamer. He's that dude. And the fact that the Knicks have him every single game, I just love it. I feel incredibly fortunate.
Building block.
From there,
building block.
Yeah, right. Because I'm certainly down on him quite a bit, and he finally had a coming out party this season. Let's talk about Mitchell Robinson. He was everywhere.
Sure. Why not?
He was great. He was fantastic offensively. It was nice to see him really thrive tonight. I'm really glad that Tibbs challenged that. I couldn't believe I could, but I couldn't believe that was only the third time Tibbs has elected to use the challenge this year.
Wild.
I think, what was it? Did we say it on the live stream that we were doing playback, where I was like, is he saving them up for PTO at the end of the year or something? Like he needs to know they expire every game. They don't carry over, Tom. So it's the sort of matchup where, and I wonder if it felt going toe to toe with Adams is this type of thing that motivates him, because they're both two of the best offensive rebounders in the game. Just, it was nice to have a center out there looking like Mitchell Robinson again. So kudos to him.
I thought Mitch played a great game. You cut out for me for a second. I don't know if you cut out for everybody else, but hopefully it was just me. Yeah, Mitch was great. I think he's not all the way back yet. I think I was watching him out there. I was like, this is like 9 out of 10 Mitch. I think he was gassed at a couple, like the part of the game where Tibbs bought a few minutes in the fourth quarter with Obi and Randall together. I thought he took out Mitch because for the previous couple of minutes, Mitch looked gassed. But look, he played 32 minutes. Most of those minutes were very good. So good job by him. Cam, he didn't play a great game. I thought defensively he was like fine. To see him when he makes baskets with the issues that this team has had scoring and getting easy buckets from anyone other than Jalen Brunson, and I wouldn't necessarily define the buckets that Jalen Brunson gets as easy. It was just refreshing. We hope Quickly's okay. We should acknowledge also, for anybody who maybe is listening to this after the fact or didn't catch the news during the game, Quickly left with some kind of a knee issue, sore left knee, I believe they called it. No update on that as of now. We hope he's all right. But he was playing his usual very good brand of basketball. And Quentin Grimes, I look, Grimes finished with 5 points. He was 2 of 7 from the field. I don't care. That's as good an individual defensive performance as you're going to see on Ja Morant. He made Ja Morant work. And I think the best compliment you could give Grimes is that, like, he was on Ja. He made Ja work to the point, like, towards the end of the game, what I thought would have served as maybe the pivotal possession was when Ja just jacked up a 3 with a minute or so left to go, and it gave the Knicks the chance to take the lead, which they took the lead. I think Ja was just gassed, and that was because he had to work for everything he got. So great defensive performance from Quentin Grimes. Do we want to talk about anybody else before we get to the comments? It was nice to see RJ Barrett hit some shots.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice. It was nice to see him hit some shots. I'm not going to sit here and say RJ Barrett had a good game. I don't even know that I could sit here and be like RJ Barrett didn't have a bad game. Hitting shots is nice. He's not defending at all right now.
No.
at a level that an NBA wing needs to defend. The decision making is better. Some of it is still inexplicable. But in the grand scheme of this season, I guess this counts as a step in the right direction. Is that where we're at this point with RJ?
Yeah, listen, we've been grading Randall on a bit of a curve. I feel like based on what we've seen from RJ as of late, are we grading him on a curve? Because it kind of feels that way. But even so, I thought he was fine. He was perfectly fine tonight. But yeah, the offense is what carried more of that feeling of being fine, which is good because that's where he was really struggling. But yes, he's dogging it on defense quite a bit.
But is it so?
Do you see it just more as him being naturally slow-footed, or
I don't? Yeah. The question that I've gotten, I don't know if you've gotten the same question, but like people in my DMs and like just on whatever, people I've been conversing with the Knicks about it, like I can't remember how many times already it's been. Has RJ put on weight? Is there something wrong physically with RJ? Because people just watching him, and I agree. I don't know what else to think. It's so frustrating. And we should also say Julius Randle had a very nice offensive game. Mm-hmm. I thought didn't mind any of his process really on offense, maybe save for 2 or 3 possessions here or there. Dude had 9 assists. I thought he was making smart passes. 14 points on 9 shots, 10 rebounds. With Randle, we know what the defensive issues are. It is, I'm not going to try on these couple of possessions because I'm all the way over here and the guy I'm supposed to have is all the way over there. And no, that's a shame. Or I'm going to get beat because I'm just not aware. And there's the lack of quite frankly, toughness. Like there were opportunities for him to maybe try to box out Steven Adams tonight. I'm not saying I would want that challenge, but you're Julius Randle. You carry yourself around like a tough guy. He didn't want any part of any of that. To say nothing of the fact that he could not handle, Jaren Jackson Jr. or again, as usual, be bothered to give real contests on threes or just get out to those are the Randle issues. We know what the Randle issues are. The RJ issues are more, I guess, confusing is the word, right? On defense, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't defense. It was, a neutral ball at the time, but I did love how he tracked down that offensive rebound on the free throw shot.
Yeah, that was nice.
Got it to Cam. Cam got it to Mitch for a beautiful pass and nice dunk. So he can create the effort when it seems like it's in his control. But if it's out of his control, I don't know. It just doesn't manifest. I don't quite understand it. And maybe the Knicks don't either. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But it, for as good as you feel about tonight, for as good as I feel about certain things about this team, the Randle RJ dual black, gray, whatever your, morbid color of choice cloud, the cloud that is hanging over it all at this point does make it tough to really get fully excited about anything going on with the team because they're 2 of the most prominent parts of it. I don't really have anything else to say. I mean, I'm sure we'll get some big picture questions. The team, would it be nice if they were 10-10 right now? Yeah, it'd be nice. They're 9-11. Is it the end of the world? For right now, it's not. I mean, probably go into Detroit, win that game. That would be advisable, would it not, Jeremy Cohen?
I would advise it. Yeah,
it would. Yes, I too would advise it. Yeah, and then you got 4 games at home against teams that they'll probably be underdogs in all of those games. I just off the top of my head, we'll go through them later, but so it's this season for probably now the 3rd or 4th time might be, depending on how the next couple games go, feel like not on the precipice, but like there's the sense of urgency is building maybe earlier than it should. We'll get to all that. I don't have anything else unless you have something else before we get to the super chat.
It was just one more thing. The urgency, I hear you, but at the same time, because of the play-in tournament, I feel like they're always going to be hanging around. And if you're that close, you're a couple good games away from finally being in the picture or being more prominently in the picture. So I wouldn't say like it's getting late early. There's still plenty of time. They're really not that far away from what it needs to be. And players can have injuries. COVID still is a thing, and it could start players and impact them that way, as we saw with Jokic, where the Knicks, I mean, do you feel confident the Knicks winning in Denver if Jokic is playing? I don't. No. But he didn't play and they won, and that's the end of it. So they'll be in it. They'll be around as long as the best players they have are healthy, and their best players will take them as far as they can go.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem right now because 2 of their 3 best players have had their issues this season. We should say I think the first time all season the Knicks are out of the play-in, looking in at least for this moment. I don't know who else is playing right now that could change this, but as of the time that we are recording this at 8:59 p.m. on Sunday evening, the Knicks are in 11th at 9-11 with 2 teams ahead of them, the Heat and the Nets at 10-11. Wizards 10-10, Toronto 10-9. I mean, it's bunched up, and you got the Pacers there. You figure the Pacers will continue to fall back. They're 11-8. Although I don't know if I expect the Pacers to hang in it at the very least, hang in the play-in race for the entire year at this point.
Assuming they keep Miles Turner, yeah, 100%.
Assuming they keep Miles Turner, yeah. Which who knows what they're going to do that. And then you got the Bulls still, they're kicking around 8-11, only half a game back of us. So yeah, I mean they'll be around, they'll be in it. Last thing I do want to say because it was on my mind. And is it a decision to kill him over? Maybe. Tom Thibodeau didn't put Quentin Grimes in on John Morant down the stretch of this game. And Morant obviously made an impact down the stretch of this game. It was a decision that at the time it was made, I was like, why is RJ? Because to me, RJ was the guy you take out of the game. And the thinking was for me, like, okay, I'm happy the kid made some shots tonight. You're not ever, ever, ever in a million years asking RJ Barrett to initiate an offensive possession in the last 5 minutes of this game. So he's not in there for that reason. He certainly isn't in there for defensive purposes. And so basically you're saying, like, I trust RJ Barrett in there because I trust him to hit a shot right now. And I know Quentin Grimes isn't exactly hitting the lights out of the ball right now, but like, forgive me for trusting Quentin Grimes more shooting from out. Quentin Grimes would be 0 for 20, and I'm still going to trust the ball coming off of his hands from deep. Now, RJ did make a basket in the last, 3 minutes, somewhere down the stretch. It was kind of a blown play, so he had an open lane. He converted the layup. Good job by him for that. For me, it was still a bad decision. Was it an egregiously bad decision? I'm not going to argue with you if you think it was. So I did just want to bring that up before we
team high 37 minutes for RJ. It's a lot. It's a lot for someone to even if we're talking about like he had a fine game, for someone who had the week that he had, that's a lot. And listen, like we're talking about alternatives. Those alternatives have been here. They haven't gone anywhere. They've been on this team all year. The only issue is Quentin Grimes was hurt for quite a bit of time, and Cam Reddish saw some time being out too. But there are options available. If Tom Thibodeau wants to hitch his ride to RJ Barrett, then that is his doing. He's had no problem benching Evan Fournier. We've played as many minutes together, each of us, as Evan Fournier has in the last, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. So it's not that he can't do it. They just won't. And there are other options. I would hope, especially in games where RJ is even worse, not even worse, because I thought he was fine, but where he is clearly worse than he was tonight, that's when you decide to get a little bit more creative and say who's feeling it, who's not, and kind of go with the hot hand. It's not that he doesn't do it, because, like when we see IQ close games, especially when he's hot, it makes sense. But there are times, yes, where I'm totally with you. I would like to see maybe a little less RJ Barrett, a little more Quentin Grimes, a little more Cam Reddish. It's not a huge deal, but it's enough where every, if like we can't sit here and say 3 fewer minutes of RJ Barrett would have won the Knicks the game. But at the same time, if in the situations where he's just like not cutting it, it hurts. And if Tibbs is going to have the philosophy of, I need to play my best players this amount of minutes because the other team's going to play their best players this amount of minutes and match up, then every moment counts.
I said this to someone, and I don't know that I've ever used this quote to describe Tibbs before. And if I haven't, shame on me. Because Tibbs always likes to talk about accountability and you got to earn your minutes and the whole thing. It reminds me of Animal Farm. All animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others.
Yes.
And it is very, very clear on this team, not only with Julius Randle, but with RJ Barrett too, that, some guys are more equal than others. And he just is going to give certain guys a longer leash. And I would argue that tonight it bit him in the ass. Because here's what I do know. That Dylan Brooks play that RJ was guarding, RJ wouldn't have been guarding it. Cam Reddish would have been guarding it because Quentin Grimes would have been guarding John Morant at the point of attack. And I'm pretty confident that Cam Reddish gets a better contest on that shot. Maybe it doesn't go down, to say nothing of whether or not Quentin Grimes could have bothered Ja Morant. Now I do want to at least acknowledge Ja Morant's a sort of player, especially when he has Steven Adams or Jaren Jackson Jr. even screening for him. If he makes it a point that he wants to, get in the teeth of the defense on the pick and roll, he's going to do it. The Knicks were like, you could hope to contain it. Eventually it's going to happen. It's about how you corral it. And I thought the Knicks corralled those possessions, a few of those possessions, about as well as you can. So that's the only reason I'm hesitant to be like, it lost them the game. Because I don't know that I could say that and fully believe it, but was it the wrong decision? Yeah, it was the wrong decision. All right. We've been talking for 20 minutes. Let's remind our friends at home to download the WynnBet app or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download Bet Win. Again, that's WYNNBET.com to start winning. All right, Andrew, what do you got for us to start off? Wonder which way we're going. Always curious to see how the comments are going to go, especially after a game like this, because you could tell me
me too.
Go. Yeah, they could go anyway. I have a funny feeling I know which way they're going to go. But Ryan Wong starts us off. If you could give Randall one attribute from a teammate, what would it be? Mine would be Jalen Brunson's mentality. I can't believe he played and he balled. Hashtag JB is him. Man, Ryan, I think you might have given the objectively correct answer. It was going to be something having to do with motor, hustle. I think Grimes motor, Grimes hustle. IQ's like ability, like how he thinks the game. Those would be the only two other contenders. But I think JB's mentality. Because maybe if you have Jalen Brunson's mentality, does that come with more hustle, and does that come with a higher IQ for the game? I don't know. These are tiebreaker questions.
I'm going to go in a different direction.
What?
And recency bias is going to cloud this answer. But I'm going to go with Evan Fournier's shooting ability, the man who broke the Knicks single season 3-point shooting record last year. I think Randall shooting really nicely kind of ups his value a bit. You can live with the defensive issues.
I can't.
No,
I can't. I can't.
But but even still, if you have someone like Randall who's just lighting up from three, like Karl Anthony Towns, but a little bit worse than. Well, actually, not even necessarily worse than like that.
That's who he is. Right. He's
like,
Karl Anthony Towns. If you give him 48 3-point shooting ability.
Listen, Karl Anthony Towns is still a star no matter what. He's got his flaws. I wouldn't necessarily want him on this team, and I don't think he's going to go anywhere in the year or so anyway, but I'm going to give him that because to me, I feel like he does have a type of mentality that Brunson has, where it's like the difference is everyone bet against Brunson as he was coming up the ranks, and Randall, of course, went to Kentucky. He then was drafted 7th overall. Like he has been in that position where he's like, this is who he's supposed to like that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be a really great NBA player, and I guess it's more because Randall believes in himself so much that's where I feel like there's a crossover with Brunson. Like Brunson's very confident and Randall is confident as well, but sometimes it feels as though his confidence and what he's able to do on the court don't match up. So I'm going to go with Evan Fournier shooting. I think he'd be great.
The reason why I'm kind of siding with Ryan and this my finish line here for this answer is whatever's going to get Julius Randle to play every game like it's like he has to impress his coach to make the team, because if he doesn't play like Jeremy Lin played against the Nets, like, hey man, you're gonna get cut tomorrow, so go out there and go do. Maybe that's the wrong mentality, because maybe that would just get him to chuck up a bunch of shots.
But when Randall shot incredibly well, it was the pandemic year and he went on to win most improved player.
It's not about the shooting for me. It's not about the shooting at all. It's about the dog. Like I hate to go for the cliche of all cliches, but go play like the guy that we thought we were getting the way you talked, you meaning Randall, in training camp in 2019. Play like that, the guy that we.
But when he shot well that most improved player year, he defended his ass off. It's like look good, feel good type thing. If the shooting occurs, then he actually puts more effort on the defensive end. That's the way I read into it.
Maybe
that's how it felt that year, where he was just so on fire that it carried over and he put more effort into the defensive side.
You might be right.
For a lot of guys, it's like, I'm doing so well on offense, I don't need to try on defense. Honestly, it sometimes felt like RJ did that at the end of last year, where he was very good offensively, but the defense wasn't quite as even because he was carrying a heavier workload. Randall busted his ass when he was playing well on offense. It translated to the defense nicely. So
Busted his ass in
I'll
Denver
stick
the
with
other
that
night.
answer.
No,
Yeah.
that's a good answer. All right, thanks, Ryan. That's a good question to start us off today. I like that a lot. Pro Gills, you probably didn't want to go 12 deep, but at what point do you look at the bench and go, this is a Sims game? Shout out to Benji. Benji had a tweet about that. Benji always has like half a dozen tweets throughout the night that are just so on point, saying he thought this was Sims over Hartenstein game, and I completely agree. I thought the stretch where the Knicks could not stop anybody at some point in the second half when Hartenstein was just really struggling on the pick and roll, that seemed like a call for Sims. So yeah, great point there, Pro. Completely agree. Another one from Pro Gills. I'm 1000% Cam Hive, but Grimes should be guarding quicker, smaller guards. Cam on the best wing. Yeah, I don't think anyone. Doesn't matter what Hive you're in. There's no one watching the Knicks right now who doesn't feel like Quentin Grimes is their best point of attack defender on ones, on twos, and some threes. It depends on which three you're talking about, but definitely ones and twos. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that the Knicks feel that 40% of their starting rotation at the very least is a mainstay here. And that being Jalen Brunson and Quentin Grimes. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be nice if that was at least 40% of it.
This is where we are.
Well, listen, if that's the case, and
who's third on that list?
Who's third on that list? That's an intriguing question. But yeah, yes, I agree. And I think when you look at the prototypes, especially of like what the Knicks clearly want, they want length on the wing, and it'd be nice to see. I get it. I agree, but at the same time, like as someone who's no Hive really, I've kind of done with the Hives personally. There's so much invested. I learned this from Frank. There's so much emotional investment that goes into it. Where it's like, you know what? I love all these players. There are a lot. It's like what you're saying. What with the Animal Farm quote? Everyone's equal. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but some are more equal than others. That's kind of how it goes. But yeah, again, it's nice that they are both here and we're able to see growth from both of them. Like they both played tonight. That was important, right? In a crowded rotation, Rose didn't play very much at all, and I think that's important. Just moving forward, but
yeah, well said. Forgotten NYC 90s roster construction, no shooters whatsoever. I'll push back there a little bit. I think that's a little recency bias. I think Grimes is going to be a very good NBA shooter. I will talk about things you can't quit and like irrational like Hive love or whatever. I will never believe that Emmanuel Quickley is not going to be a good shooter. Like I think Quickley, Grimes, those are good NBA shooters. Brunson from the corners has been really down this year. Like that should be a part of their offense that is reliable. It hasn't thus far. That said, that's not enough. There are a lot of teams that like out of their 10-man rotation, you got 8 shooters, 8 guys who could legit, like you really can't leave open. Like tonight, look at the freaking Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, you don't think of the Grizzlies as like a dynamite shooting team. And yet everybody out there could like knock down a shot if they're open. Like you don't want to leave any of those guys open. And just, I think the focus here really is on Brunson, Julius, and RJ, which is what we've been talking about all year. Like that should not be a big three in the year of our Lord 2022. Completely agree, especially when you have a traditional 5. So, yes.
Last year, the Knicks had the 14th best accuracy in the NBA from 3-point range.
Yeah,
according to Cleaning Glass. They're last this year. Like, ask yourself what happened. Like, are we saying that Kemba Walker and Alec Burks were so good that they're the reason that the Knicks plummeted 16 spots? I wouldn't say so. It's just they're just not hitting shots, and they don't have Evan Fournier in there, which again I think a lot of us are comfortable with. But he was the guy who also really helped them hit threes and space the floor even more so.
No. Kevin Danishevsky, repeat from Zoom. This front office is not perfect by any stretch, but we got a guy who can clearly be a number 2 on a championship team. No other front office since the 90s has done it without making a sell the farm trade. Well done. Yeah, Kevin's very high on the Jalen Brunson acquisition, as he should be. I don't want to say Brunson's already like in the conversation for one of the bigger bargains in the NBA, but at the very least, the conversation about was it like a bad contract to the extent that anyone was still having that conversation. I think that conversation is done. He's really good, and they got him. So good job by them.
Yep, always felt obvious to me, but I understand.
Same here. That was like the Brunson thing from the moment they signed him. I think me and you were both in lockstep. Like, yes, this is a home run. Like, giddy up.
Oh, yeah.
Reverend John Ortiz, what's going on, Rev? Thanks for the contribution. Randall needs to go. RJ, I'm kind of done with. Well, it's only $200 million you need to move. And as good as Brunson is, the Knicks need another star. No one is disputing that in the slightest. Someone like Mike White, who got their Jets, the Jets, their 7th win, hashtag trade 30. As I see across the bottom of the screen, get those likes up. The Jets are 7-4. The thing I couldn't help but, and I know, this goes back a game, I couldn't help but thinking when I watched the Portland game, is like, just imagine this season that you took out Randall and RJ and you replaced them with Jerry and not Jerry and Grant. Once a Nick, always a Nick. Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons, who are, I don't know, Jeremy, are those guys top 40 players? Top 50 players?
A little lower, but they're better than where Julius Randle and RJ Barrett have been this season. So they would help a lot.
Yeah, but like they're not neither of those guys. I mean, maybe Simons makes an all-star team. He could certainly score well enough too. Maybe he makes a couple. That's debate. The point is, these are not like star players. And yet, I'm not saying that like that's the Knicks should think that they are 2 sub all-star level players away from being like a championship team. But I couldn't help but watch that game and be like, man, would this team be like, I don't know, would they be 2nd or 3rd in the East if they had those 2 guys this season instead of the 2 guys that we have right now? I don't know. Be interesting though.
Yeah.
Anthony Sixto, Morant's second chance putback is how these ridiculous whistles change games. Good call on that. I like that comment. I don't know. It was. I watched that replay the 4 times they showed it on the regular screen, and then my playback that I was recording on my laptop caught up, and I watched it another however many times they showed it. I can't get on anybody for that. I think you nailed it. The refs have made guys kind of afraid to foul. Good defense, but had to be extra careful to avoid the foul. Very frustrating. I like that comment.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
No disagreements.
Yeah. James Lee, what's going on, James? RJ and Dylan got almost identical box scores and stats this game and career. And this is one of RJ's good games. Dylan gets paid 1/3 to Barrett next year. I think Dylan next year is his last year on his contract. I think so.
It's this year or next year.
Yeah, it's this year or next year.
They're different players, first and foremost.
They're different.
The same.
They're not the same. First of all, Dylan Brooks is a guy who's a pain in the ass defender. Fouls a lot, but like I think everybody would agree he's a good defender. I don't know if he's a great defender. He's a good defender. More of a guy ideally you want coming off your bench. Will someone give him $15 million a year? Yeah, someone will give him $15 million a year. Will they give him 20? Maybe in this economy, somebody will.
I don't know if another team. That's a good question. I don't know if another team than Memphis is going to give him that. I think he'd easily clear the mid-level exception, 100%.
Oh, he's well above a mid-level guy.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's more. Yeah. I could get behind it. That's fair. 15.
But the point, James, is well taken. I think, even though they are different players. A.E. Kennedy. Oh, hold on. I just looked at GMAC here. Look at the banner. Oh, I think that's for the Jets. A.E. Kennedy. Lack of 3-point shooting is a thing that has to be addressed, but the fact that we shot that bad and the game was that close says a lot about the team. The most of the many amazing things about the Knicks this season, and I use the term amazing for both a good connotation and a bad connotation, the whole spectrum. Amazing good, amazing horrible. The most amazing thing about them is that we're going to look up, and maybe it's updated already, I doubt it, they're probably going to be the 14th ranked offense in the league after this game. And they are the worst 3-point shooting team. That to me that's something else.
Yeah. And listen, the way I see it, how exactly are the Knicks supposed to address this? Right? Jalen Brunson, he's staying here. I would imagine Quentin Grimes isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett's poison pill makes him difficult to trade. Not impossible, but difficult to trade this year. And also, if he's at his lowest point right now, or in the next couple months, we'll see how they unfold. You don't actually want to unload him right this moment. I don't see Julius Randle going anywhere. The Knicks are committed to not having spacing at the 5. I think actually Isaiah Hartenstein cutting down on threes that he's attempting would be a really nice thing. And then on the bench, you've got, Rose is a fine shooter, but he's not playing very much. Quickly, very good shooter, just not hitting them. Cam Reddish, hopefully you can see more from him. Obi's gone cold. He was really torrid to start the year. Just talking about Hartenstein. So, I don't think there are that many moves in season the Knicks can make other than just naturally improving. Are enough players injured or out where Evan Fournier is playing, and then Kemba Walker's himself, and finally he's staying in the rotation for a little bit? I don't think that's going to be the case, but that seems to me like the best option that's there. So yeah, just it's internal stuff. I don't think it's going to be anything that's external, at least not this year.
Yeah. By the way, thank you, Andrew. The Knicks are still 15th. They are 0.4 points per 100 possessions away from 14th. They're also 0.7 away from being 12th or being tied for 12th with Toronto. So they're right in this range of 12 to 16. So but the point is they're still a very good offense. I really don't want to be this guy, but I'm going to be this guy anyway. I wonder if what the conversations we would be having if RJ Barrett and 3 first-round picks went their way west, Donovan Mitchell found his way east, and upon making that deal, the front office found it in its heart to do what it needed to do to move Julius Randle for a bag of balls in whatever trade that they could unload him, because they would have known at that point that the roster structurally would not have required a player of his ilk as much as a more traditional, big wing 3-and-D type. Now, I don't know who they'd be able to get at that point to back up Obi Toppin. For all we know, we could be looking at Carmelo Anthony here. I doubt it. Probably be looking at Rudy Gay. But
well, they wouldn't just be dumping Julius Randle in this scenario. But even still, if we're talking about the Knicks giving up 3 unprotected first, and I don't
forget about the wisdom of the trade. I'm just this specific
but we need
question.
If you're bringing Rudy Gay into the fold as a starting 4, then I think we need to have someone there.
Backup 4.
Okay, but even still, I hear what you're saying. It just feels like a lot to get better, but I still don't know what that next step is, because now you're done. I know you're not looking for me to. It's more rhetorical than anything, and I'm answering a rhetorical question. So I'll just leave it at that and say yes, John. I agree. We'll never really know.
I'm the one that kills the front office more than anyone, but I do want to at least acknowledge there was a path there to this team looking much more modern than it does right now, and they perhaps correctly chose, or let me rephrase that, they did not end up taking that path, and now we are here. Okay, let's move on from the Donovan Mitchell talk, please. David Crockett, what's going on, David? 2 crappy bounces when we did things right. Stick in the craw. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s missed 3 to Adams. That didn't even bounce. It barely ricocheted.
Yep.
Missed so badly. And Ja's 360 block shot to himself. Great call, David. They changed the game, and and even I look, it's a make or miss league. He missed both of them, but those are good shots by Brunson. Both of those shots are good shots by Brunson. So, yeah. Man, I'd forgotten about this game momentarily. Thanks for reminding me, David. Vincent Russo, thank you. If Grimes and RJ just swapped everything, rolls, field goal attempts, minutes, etc., what do you think the results would be? Probably awesome, right? Jalen Brunson's amazing. Thanks. would RJ have been hurt and not in the rotation for all the time that Grimes was out of the rotation? He says we're swapping everything. So is that swapping too?
Are we swapping their bodies as well?
No, I don't know. It's a good question. I think the team would be better? Yes, of course. I think the team would be better. If
RJ were injured instead of Grimes, then yeah, I would imagine. Just based on how it's not even how great Grimes has been. He's been good this year, but it's more just how detrimental RJ has been within the last however many games. I mean, a lot of this season, really.
It's been detrimental on both ends. That's the killer. If RJ had came into the season and not even forget playing Grimes level defense, had been just playing defense where you don't feel like he's a negative, where you feel like he's a net neutral on the floor, and been going through the same shooting, scoring, whatever issues. I even think the conversation then would be different, but it's the two-way play, unfortunately. Forgotten NYC, another one. Haven't been impressed with Isaiah at all. Letdown. I don't know how
he's
to
not being used the right way. I mean, he's not. He's more of a playmaking center, and he's kind of just a rim runner who's spacing the floor and shooting threes that he shouldn't be attempting, at least not to the volume that he is. That's a huge problem. I mean, he was doing such a nice job with the right. Well, is there that much of a difference between optimally and correctly or rightly or whatever?
No, because I think in the role he's been in, there have been times where Hartenstein has looked really good. I do think he gets exposed on the defensive glass, which just so happens to be this team's biggest weakness. But I also think he's been pretty good. I think I'm giving Hartenstein more credit than Forgotten is. Maybe that's the difference. But to your point, it's fair. Yushin Zhu, what's going on, Yushin? I can see that Sims' minutes were decreasing over the last couple of games with Mitch back in the lineup, but this is really a game that we could have used a live body on. Adams, good game overall, though. The biggest shocker to me of maybe the season is that Tibbs went Randall Obi because clearly he was just trying to buy Mitch a few minutes because he didn't trust Hartenstein at that point, and he wanted Mitch back in the game as soon as possible. So he was just trying to buy a few minutes. That he went with them two together as opposed to just getting Sims in there for 3 minutes, that shocked me.
I was also surprised. I didn't think he was going to go as small as he did. And especially because he'd been playing Sims. I mean, he was playing 3 centers for last 2-3 games in a row?
Yeah.
I was very surprised to see it. So, but hey, listen, he played Randall Obi minutes, right? He did it.
Yeah, get the counter, Andrew. Look, I love Sims. I think Sims, you could argue Sims has been minute for minute, pound for pound, their best center on the team this year. And that is with all due respect to Mitch having some really, really nice moments, but Mitch has also been injured and has had some time where he's not looked great. And getting back into conditioning and the whole thing. They just paid both of these guys this summer. Like they're good. If these guys are healthy, they're going to play, and Sims is not going to play. That's just the reality of the situation. It is a roster issue that will be cleared up at some point. I don't know when. Greg Film Stuff. What's going on, Greg? Thank you. Very, very, very generous contribution. I think the Knicks defended Ja extremely well in the first half, trapping him, and they went away from it in the second. We got beat to the boards on too many possessions, and Randall definitely missed some assignments on defense. That's a pretty good sum up right there. Should say that the Grizzlies did get 15 or 14 offensive rebounds tonight. 15 offensive rebounds tonight, which is like, you know what the sad thing is? Knicks gave up 15 offensive rebounds, and you're like, oh, that's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
They're the worst or second worst defensive rebounding team in the NBA. It is astounding. The 3-point shot, if somebody was like, the Knicks are going to be the worst 3-point shooting team in the league, you'd be like, really? That's a really big drop off. But I guess maybe if a few things don't break right. If you would have said that the Knicks would be the worst defensive rebounding team in the league, I don't even know what to say.
After being fourth last year?
Yeah, and that's like always been a strength of Tibbs'
yes.
teams. Yeah. Say what you want about Tibbs, but the Ja thing, I think that may have been more Ja than the Knicks. I think Ja's the type of player, if he wants to assert his will on a game, he's going to assert his will on a game. And I think he just made more of a point to do that in the second half. But I would have to go back and rewatch to say that with any confidence.
Oh, it's such a Tibbs quote. I love it. I love that you are. But yes, I mean, Tibbs even said himself that in the last game, the Knicks failed to adjust to the refs. And in the second half, you saw similar where they couldn't do it. Their third quarter, they're just traditionally not a good team. The third quarter of doom is back. And, yes, I think it's a mixture of not adapting. And as you're saying, John, just Ja being Ja. He's a pretty damn good player.
Sean Hardy. Hey, Sean, what's going on? These are the losses I can accept. Man, you guys are better than me. You know what it was? I don't know what it is. I like the idea of being 500. And I like up until now, we hadn't fallen 2 games below 500.
Yep.
Maybe we won't be there for long, but I so badly wanted to get on and be like, yes, we're 10-10. Raise the banner.
Well, there just weren't enough things in this game where I felt I was disappointed, right? Like it's just a hard-fought game, and it didn't go that way.
I know.
Sucks. Whatever. Go to Tankathon. Do a sim. Have a drink.
No,
go to bed.
I'm having a drink. I'm not doing a sim. Ryan with another one. Also, rewatch some 2021 Grizzlies post games. People saying that they'd rather have RJ than Ja. Remember RJ's 22, 24 points per game? I miss being so high on him. I'll
say this.
Well, yeah. You say I have nothing to say.
What I'll say is this. My big thing is I'm terrified whenever I see Ja Morant land. And I always get worried about his long-term impact. Because he is someone who, he so much of his game is predicated on explosiveness, and I hope he stays healthy and has a really great career. I think my thinking along those lines was like, all right, well, if you have, I'm someone who prioritizes wings. I think wings are essential. Having great wings is great for a team. You need them. And it was more like, all right, well, RJ's a bigger, like, he's not someone who relies on explosiveness. Like, to me, I'm not making one-to-one comparison at all, but like, I think of strength. I think of someone like Kawhi, where it's like there's just a low center of gravity, great on defense, can do a lot, fix his shot on offense compared to where he was at San Diego State and how San Antonio worked with him. That obviously hasn't happened with RJ Barrett. And Ja Morant has gone in a completely different direction to start him. So I think from that was at least my viewpoint at the time, with some of it copium, tiny bit, but again, that's also I felt with Zion as well. I'd love to have Zion Williamson here. You live with the injury concerns, but they're real. They are a concern. And with Ja, a lot of it was just how he'll hold up. But
I think
obviously a better player.
I think those are questions that are like, is Ja Morant the 5th best trade asset in the NBA, or is he the 8th best trade asset in the NBA?
What, an injured Ja?
No,
or
just Ja. Like,
oh yeah,
the injury concerns are factor into the Ja discussion in that specific sense of like where you're just it's the ultimate in picking nits, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you rather have Ja, or would you rather have that's probably a bad example because you'll take Tatum, but like, no, maybe actually that's because Tatum, like, you don't have to worry about it. He's a big wing. He's what everybody wants. Like, you're never gonna have to worry about that dude. I'm trying to think of a better example, and of course I'm blanking right now. But Ja or like Anthony Edwards. Like, there's more question marks about Anthony Edwards than there is about Tatum right now, and certainly more about Anthony Edwards than Ja. But Ja has like you said, if he lands the wrong way one day, like, whereas Anthony Edwards is built like a tank. So
what you were going to say is also correct. It begins with a B. I know what you're going to say.
Yes. There you go. Thank you. I'm glad you love me so well.
Oh, I do.
See, only you can make me smile after a loss like that.
Perfect. Love it.
I appreciate you, Jeremy. Wombler. What's going on, Wombler? Love that name. Watching Julius' defensive lapses is maddening. It's the most maddening thing about it. First frustrating as RJ has been this year, when Julius I don't know what's the worst Julius defensive thing for you. Is it because for me it's the 1-2 in some order is getting beat backdoor where he like doesn't know his man is like moving, or when like we saw it tonight, he's in the paint, his guy in the corner gets the ball, he sees his man in the corner gets the ball, he has the momentary like, I could go run out there. Nah. Do you have a number one and a number two, or it's just too close to call?
I think it's my number one is similar to that, where it's like clearly his man that's in the corner, and his stopper's like, whose man's out there? Like someone should be guarding this man.
No, he knows. He knows.
Well, but it's this reference is going to be lost on you, but I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this will get it. But from I Think You Should Leave, where there's a hot dog sketch where Tim Robinson's character is in a hot dog costume, and a hot dog car crashes through a like a suit store, and everyone's like, who did this? Who could? And then obviously the man in the hot dog suit is like, who could have done this? Like that sort of thing. Like who is responsible for this? That's the analogy.
That's good. The rest of this one from Walmer, by the way. Do you think Obi could be the long-term solution at the 4? His defense is poor. His defense hasn't looked great the last couple of games. He struggled against Jeremy Grant. He struggled tonight against Jaren Jackson Jr. He was no match for Jaren Jackson Jr. You know, that said, those are two particularly bad matchups for Obi. There aren't many semi-traditional power forwards anymore in the league. And I would say Grant and Jaren Jackson Jr. are two of the more traditional at this point. It's crazy that we're calling Jeremy Grant a more traditional power forward. The guy was a straight 3 like not that long ago. But such is the NBA in 2022. You know, to quote friend of the pod, Zach Lowe, if I could know what Obi Toppin is by the end of this season, I will feel really good myself sitting here. And I still think that's a question. I think we've seen a lot of good from him this year, a little not so good recently. I'm not willing to say he's not the long-term solution at the 4. Depends on how you build the team also. It's going to be tough. My inclination is to say he's probably not a starting 4 on a championship team, but like, why does that need to be the bar? Like, that doesn't need to be the bar. Can he be a major piece on a really, really, really good team? Yeah, I think we know enough to say that already. But yeah, I got to see more though.
I guess my take right now, as of November 27th, 9:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is subject to change, is I look at this roster and there are really only 2 pieces I feel are long-term solutions, and it's Jalen Brunson and Quentin Grimes. And it's not that Obi can't be one. It's just, as you're saying, yes, like if we're talking about a championship court, there's a lot of time and space in between where the Knicks are at right now and contention status, like legitimate contention status. But there's something about it, man. I just can't. I think he's a suitably good option right now, and we need to learn more of him, as you were saying, and as Zach was saying. But I think a reason why I'm stopping getting attached to a lot of these players emotionally is because I just feel like a lot of them are going to be traded. That's the nature of the industry. That's what happens when stars become available. It sucks. It really sucks, but that's just kind of how I see it, unfortunately. And I still have joy and I love seeing these players play as their Knicks. It's just hard to get emotionally invested in a lot of them because I just don't trust that they'll necessarily be here.
Someone read my way too early trade primer from last week.
Of course, but our thoughts happen to have aligned on that. Yeah. And I haven't launched into a lot of my long-term thoughts as I'm trying to save them a little bit more, but that's a sneak peek at we're in agreement on that one pretty much.
The sad thing is that number 3 on my because I agree, like Brunson, Grimes, like they're the closest thing as far as I'm concerned that we have to a core at this point. Quickly's really close to number 3, and if you had to bet your money on like which guy's most likely to get moved before the deadline, maybe Quickly's not first, but like it's gonna be painful if that dude gets traded. I don't want to see him get moved. I know we'll talk about it. I don't want to get into a Quickly trade thing right now, but it's that
we're in alliance there too. Yeah.
I love Anthony or Emmanuel Quickly. I hope he stays. Anthony Strano, Why do the refs hate us? I don't know, because we're New Yorkers and we're better than everybody else.
Part of it. Yeah.
Nicholas saying, Tibbs made a bad call taking Mitch out to put in Grimes. Didn't need a 3, but definitely needed to secure the board if the shot missed. I'm trying to think of... So this was on the possession... Was this on like the penultimate? Oh, I think I know what he's talking about. So this was maybe on the first Brunson miss. That's interesting.
I'm trying to picture it.
No, because I know what he's talking about. Because Grimes came in, and I remember having the thought like, oh, you're going to bring Grimes in for offense now? It was definitely down the stretch there. And I was like, well, maybe they feel like they need a 3. But it was one of those. But the point is, if Grimes isn't in there and Mitch isn't there, maybe there's a chance to get the offensive. Maybe that's fair. That's fair. Hey, Andrew.
Do you guys want to know exactly what possession he's talking about?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So the Knicks were down 125 to 123. This is right after Ja Morant missed the second of 2 free throws, meaning the Knicks didn't need a 3. And he inserted Grimes for Hartenstein. And then because he had inserted both centers for the rebound and they got it. And then he inserted Cam and Grimes on the offensive end with 6 seconds left. So my assumption is that the play called for if Brunson wanted to kick it out, you've got multiple shooters rather than, someone in the dunker spot.
That as the last part was, it seemed like Brunson was trying to attack the paint on that one and pulled back, and they were converging so much in and collapsing on the paint that having Mitch there probably would have drawn more attention. Yes, then you're talking about, well, Brunson has to kick it out or he has to take a mid-range shot. So, I mean, he wound up taking the mid-range shot anyway, but it would have put more of an emphasis on an outside shot in order to get it. So, 100%.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome. So, quick programming note for all of you. First of all, the Jets are 7-4. Second of all, shout out to our friends at WynnBet. Just to do a quick reset, shout out to them. Download the WynnBet app now and visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download, bet, win. Shout out to me, and my only advice for betting strategies going forward: every Jalen Brunson combo bet, prop bet, whatever you want to do going forward. He's been making me look very smart. He was poor efficiently for a lot of this game, and then the fourth quarter happened, but he hit his combo that I selected today, which was 30+ points and assists midway through the fourth quarter, and then went on to obliterate it with the rest of the fourth quarter. So if you want to play along with us, join us on the KFS pregame show and take advantage of our friends over at WynnBet. Another programming note, because John is the most popular person in the world. He'll be taking off in about 10 minutes. We'll be coming back in a little bit. He's going to do a segment for SNY in a little bit.
In like 20 minutes. Yeah.
In 20 minutes. So around 10 o'clock, he's going to take off. It's not live, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, no, it can't be live because we were trying to do it earlier. No, so it won't be live, but pay attention to friend of the pod, Dexter Henry's show later tonight or whenever they're going to air it. And the one and only John Macri, who is recovered from his life-altering and life-threatening illness over the holiday break. I'm glad you're okay. Came back just in time to, write a emergency newsletter about RJ Barrett.
Listen, that newsletter was critical of Julius Randle and RJ Barrett in equal parts. The part that got aggregated was about RJ Barrett,
that's how I knew the tide had turned. That it wasn't why do you hate RJ Barrett? It's we hate RJ Barrett too. We're aggregating John Macri. That's the part that I thought. Well, that's the takeaway I had from Saturday when it was no longer. Can you believe that he wrote this? And then it's like, do you see what he wrote? Yeah, more of that, please.
You know what I haven't said yet?
Uh-oh.
No, I want you to be very I've been very clear about my feelings about Julius Randle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Julius Randle is an atrocity on defense. I think he's always going to be an atrocity on defense. I don't think you could ever win with this player on your roster at a high level. I think he has effort. I've said all kinds of nasty shit about Julius Randle, right? Everybody knows this. I haven't said anything nasty about RJ Barrett, long term as a player who eventually could help a team win games again. I want to be very clear about it. I don't think RJ Barrett sucks, but at the same time, it is okay to acknowledge how detrimental he is right now, today, to this team. So I do want to draw that dichotomy because I'm not out on RJ. Although God, this has made it tougher to be in on him, but like I do still think there is a useful player in there if he figures his shit out.
I agree. And boy, oh boy, do we as a fan base need him to figure his shit out. I'll stick
As
around.
an organization, they need him.
Yes, across the board, anybody associated with the Knicks, fan or front office and head coach, need to have him figure his shit out. I'll stay on until you have to take off. Next up.
Yeah. Wombler with another one. I love Grimes. Who doesn't love Grimes? Grimes is awesome. He's 2 for 7 tonight. Nobody cares because he just plays. He does everything, and his passing has been awesome. He's been the best passer on the team other than Jalen Brunson. My wife thinks I'm going to leave her for him. His shot is going to go in. I, too, think that Quentin Grimes' shot is going to go in.
Agree with that?
Don't leave your wife.
Thought you were going to say, I, too, think you're going to leave your wife for Quentin Grimes. But alas, you pulled a curveball on us, John.
I did. I'm full of surprises. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. RJ had a nice stat game. Good for him. There's no way he should close over Quentin Grimes right now. I completely agree. RJ is slow and a liability on defense. I think Quentin Grimes equals Lonzo Ball with rim attacking.
Does Grimes really attack the rim that much? Lonzo
he gets into
it very sure. Lonzo didn't exactly drive a lot for whatever it's worth.
No.
But
I think that's the point that he's making. He like at least Grimes could get into the teeth of the defense. He had a pretty finish. I don't think it was this game. I think it was in the Portland game. He had a really nice finish. Very recently, but it all runs together in my head. I just think I get really good.
Yeah. Yes, he is. I guess with Lonzo, I associate more like transition offense, running transition offense more.
Oh yeah,
and like. That's something that he does so well. I don't hate the comp. Don't get me wrong, Kevin. It's more just as I think it through. But I agree that, in terms of closing, if we're talking about the best 5 players being on the floor and the best 5 that fit, you could certainly make really good arguments that Quentin Grimes should be finishing over RJ. But I just don't foresee that happening.
Yeah, I think we're belittling. Like I know Lonzo gets the connector label and the whole thing. I think we're belittling how good of a floor general he is in other ways other than like the point guard who breaks down the defense and does those sorts of things. Good comment though, Kev. Kevin, what's going on, Kevin? Good to hear from you, Kevin McEwen. Julius Randle on defense is a nightmare to watch. I don't know what's going on with RJ, but he's got to get it together. Jalen Brunson's the truth. Best Nick on the floor, even with the misses. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to any of that. That was really well said. RJ has to get it together. TK, Hush to. This game is exactly why we paid Mitch. I love Sims, but Mitch just brings something in that paint defense that very few centers have. Benji tweeted about this, I think, during the game he's been tweeting about the centers a lot because I know he has some very strong feelings about it. I think Benji, to paraphrase his point, like Mitch still has the highest ceiling of anybody in this group, and we saw some of that ceiling tonight. What drives you crazy is the I don't even want to say the consistency, but like Mitch does get hurt. Like he's gotten hurt a lot, and like when he comes back, it's like there's the conditioning period and the whole thing, and he's getting paid a lot of money. Which Jeremy, I know you have feelings about as well, but
well, I'll say this, right? The way I see it, if there were this season a change to be made with the starting 5 in terms of an upgrade, he's the most likely candidate, right? How could he not be? I mean, we're talking about Julius Randle.
Trade, you mean?
Yeah. We're talking about Julius Randle and RJ Barrett is the other two. RJ with the poison pill. Randle I don't think they want to move him unless they can get at least a neutral deal. And I don't think they can get a neutral deal right now. And then you look at the 5th guy who, again, like I've been saying, I was fine with paying Mitch. It was still a little more than I would have liked. The descending contract made it feel a lot more palatable for me. But it really comes down to if you were to make an improvement in season, what position is it most likely to be? And it may not be any of them. That's the other thing. The Knicks might not improve on any of those 5. They might keep the 5, assuming that everyone stays here. But just based on how these contracts are structured, I can't help but think about it.
They had to pay Mitch.
Well, again, like we talked about this in the group chat, the 5 of us or whatever. It's just like they couldn't trade Mitch when he was a pending unrestricted free agent, when he was making too little money.
Mm-hmm.
They had trouble trading him because of base year compensation, and they didn't want to include him in the Donovan Mitchell deal because they felt they couldn't get a suitable center to replace Mitchell. And then so they figure, okay, well, if there's a time to flip him, it's leveraging cap space, well, really going over the salary cap when they had the ability to do it, and then try to make the contract more advantageous. I mean, like, what's better, paying Mitchell Robinson $17 million in 3 seasons from now, or paying him what, like 13, 12, 11, whatever that final number is?
No, you couldn't let the asset walk for nothing. Is my
That's
point.
the other. Yeah.
Hold on.
Base year compensation made it a challenge to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
On that, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. The famous Woj tweet that we all think it was fake. It was RJ, Mitch. It was O and OB and 3 unprotecteds. Was that the?
It was RJ, Mitch, Fournier, and 3 unprotected.
Not OB too.
I think no. Fournier and OB was a different. That was Shams.
Okay. I'll look it up.
But I don't care about the Fournier.
I believe
OB fight,
yes.
but it was 3 unprotecteds, right?
It might have been. I thought it was 3 picks.
Don't remember.
Andrew's there.
I'm gonna look. I don't remember a lot of Knicks actually willing to offer 3 unprotecteds. And
no, but you know the tweet I'm talking about. This is the one where it's like, wait a minute, how does this make sense with any of the other reporting? Where it's like the Jazz, like the Knicks, I forget, whatever. Like that was discussed or something. But the reason I'm asking is because I don't know if it wasn't 3 unprotecteds. Plugging my microphone back in. If it wasn't 3 unprotected, if it was just 3 picks, it would get me thinking. Like, was there a moment early in the summer where maybe Utah wanted Mitch, and that was their way to get out from Mitch, along with RJ and picks? But like, if obviously it was 3 unprotected picks, it's neither here nor there. But if it was just like 3 picks, like, was that the way the Knicks could get away with sending fewer unprotected picks for that? But again, I don't remember the tweet. I just, for some reason, it sticks out as 3 unprotected.
I found it. Yeah, okay. It's RJ, OB, Mitch, and 3 unprotected firsts.
Okay.
Okay. So shout out to not friend of the pod, but friend of Nick KFS, Hobbsy, the #1 comment underneath it. I don't buy this at all.
Yeah, no, we
don't buy this at all.
we were confused about that for a while.
Enough
anyway.
about Adrian Wojnarowski. There you go.
James Lee, what's going on? James again. Peep saying JB is selfish. I wouldn't pass to RJ or Julius Randle. Oh my God. I mean, look, everybody's got to have a take, right? So I'm sure there's somebody out there that has to be like, the Jalen Brunson is selfish take. Please.
How dare he?
He's one of the best clutch players in the NBA this season. I want him taking that shot.
How dare
I want him taking it again.
Every day of the week.
Yeah, but RJ is him, Jeremy.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Julius made All NBA 2 years ago. What's Jalen Brunson doing? Come on.
Forgotten NYC. Minor storyline. Will the Mavs pick be decent-ish? You know what I did this morning as I was feeling down? I went on Tagathon like Jeremy advised a few minutes ago. And I was like, wow, we're slated to get the 11th, 13th, and 14th picks in the draft.
Would you like an update on that, John?
Sure.
The Knicks would right now have the 9th, 12th, and 15th picks in the draft.
That's right. It can't be 14th because it's top 14 protected.
Mm-hmm.
The Mavs, I'll tell you that the Mavs pick is interesting to me now. And again, this is a conversation that Jeremy and I will have at a different time later. But how many, like, do the Knicks want a 3rd first-round pick conveying this year is a very interesting conversation. But we'll talk about that at a later time.
The one comment I will add is, as great as it is that the Mavs are currently holding the 12th pick for the Knicks. They are a whopping 3 games away from having the second best record in the NBA, in the West. It's really bunched up,
tight.
which is why if you are thinking like, oh no, what happens if the Mavs lose too many games? Because then they're in the top 10 and their pick protects. No, keep rooting for the Mavs to lose because they're going to find a way to get better. Whether it's by trade or just Luka Doncic being better, barring a Luka injury, they're going to find a way to be better than this. But if they keep losing games, especially because they've got a really tough stretch that they're dealing with, like I believe they're losing to the Bucks right now as we speak. 104-96 start of the fourth quarter. Just keep rooting for them to lose because they'll find ways to pull wins out of nowhere. They've lost a lot of games to teams missing their stars, which has been kind of funny.
And Luka Doncic is like hitting like, I don't know, 28% or 26% or some obscenely low number on like spot up threes this year, which it's like
he's doing too much.
What?
He's doing too much. He's
doing a lot, but like there's no way that the Mavs are going to get to the trade deadline. And like, just for argument's sake, let's say the Mavs are 3 games under or something at the trade deadline. They're not, they will do something to attempt to improve the team. Now, whether it works or not, we'll see. I can't fathom a scenario where the Mavs don't end up in the play-in. Maybe they get lucky and maybe they get knocked out of the play-in and we get the 11th or 12th or 13th pick in the draft. That's the other thing about it. Like, don't root for the Mavs to do too bad because the pick is top 10 protected. So,
but what I'm saying is they'll find a way to be better than that. Like,
because
they're so close that just keep rooting for them to lose. They'll win games in the end.
Here, very quick. What pick would you sign for on the dotted line right now? For the Dallas pick will be this. I will sign for it to be this pick right now.
I'll say 16.
I was actually going to go a little bit lower. I was going to go like 14 or 15.
Which, and I'm saying that because, again, I would like to see it stay in this range, but the West is so bunched up.
16. It's fucking Luka. 16.
Which is better than 21, which is what the Knicks received from the Mavs in the 2021 draft.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good call. Rob Delusma, what's going on, Rob? Sup, JM, Jeremy, and Andrew. Hope the giblets and gravy were good. Is it just me, or is this team stuck? It's not just you, Rob, but they're not stuck. They're not stuck. What's the most stuck? What's the most? How can I phrase this without sounding like an idiot? What is the aspect of this team that has it most stuck in your eyes, Jeremy? Or is there no aspect of this team that has it most stuck in your eyes?
Can you rephrase the question? I'm a little
like the most hamstringing thing about them, whether it's a contract or like a contract tied to the role that the player has, or like something of that nature.
I mean, I'll go with Julius Randle.
I'll go with Julius Randle as well.
But I think the big thing about the Knicks is, as I will maintain, and if others don't believe this to be the case, so be it. This front office doesn't care about this year. And there's a good chance that they don't really care about next year, but they'll care about next year more, because if they don't care about this year and it goes poorly, then they're definitely going to care. But I think the big concern is, okay, things don't go well this year. The team is stuck. They don't get high enough to get like one of the top prospects in the draft. And then they try to save their skins by trading for a star. And again, we'll see how this year goes. I think that they still have more flexibility than that. I don't think it'll be at the point where it's like your job's on the line. Because if you think about how poor the Steve Mills, Scott Perry era was, like, that was bad. That was really, really bad. Just flat out embarrassing, where the expectation was we're gonna go out there and sign Kevin Durant and maybe someone like Kyrie Irving, and oh crap, no, we didn't do that. And now we're like 2-8 in November, and it's rough. And okay, yeah, I'm Steve and I lost my job. Like, it's not going to be the expectations are so high, Steve, and the Knicks fall below it. I think it's
unfortunate for you.
It's more just that the Knicks are being average. They're being average, and C's get degrees kind of thing. And they're fine with that because they know that their stability is going to be fine, which means that they can take risks a little bit later. But if you're a Knicks fan, you're thinking, well, I don't want to hear about taking risks later. I want them to take risks now. I get it. I totally get it. And there will be another time where we can dissect it more. I just think in terms of the talent acquisition part and how you line everything up, like find me a team that has successfully traded for 2 established stars and contended, and I'll be like, wow, that's great. I had not heard of that team before.
It's the Lakers, and that's it.
But they
Here's
didn't.
But
the Lakers
that's not
didn't do that.
consistent contending.
No,
though.
the Lakers signed LeBron James and then traded for Anthony Davis.
You mean trading for? Okay, I see
I'm
what you're
saying trade for one, because the moment you trade for one, clock stops. The clock starts, right? Like
Yes.
now it's okay. We're feeling it out. There's more work to be done, 100%, but we're not so lousy. And if we are lousy, it's okay because we've got the best part of our front office. It seems from what we have seen is the drafting, the component of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going for, okay, well, you get that star. When are you going to get the next star? It's always like the next moment. It's like the Don Draper thing of like happiness is the moment before you need more happiness.
Looks like the Knicks signed the first star, though.
I would like to.
yeah.
Listen, I don't know. Regardless, they signed a really good player who should be in the conversation for the All-Star team, and that's the important part.
Why do you hate Jalen? Why do you hate Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, of all people.
Go ahead. I know it's a joke.
The can Jalen Brunson, shout out to, this is Kevin's point, the can Jalen Brunson be a number 2 on the right sort of roster and have that roster be contending for a championship? Obviously, a lot of that has to do with who the number 1 is. I think is an interesting conversation. The thing I'll say very briefly, and then I got to go hit up Dexter Henry for the SNY spot, is
yes,
if this team had the exact same record with the exact same net rating and before this season had swapped out Julius Randle to Phoenix for Jay Crowder and with the Phoenix poo-poo platter, and a top 20 protected first round pick this year that converts to 2 seconds if it does not convey this year. And I think I don't think we'd be having the same conversation, because I think we would feel better about the here and now, and to take it one step further. This team, this front office, like, as this is what Jeremy's alluding to, we don't want to see is the savior ass trade. But like this summer, they could trade Julius Randle and like all the draft assets they have for a star, and like put the star next to Jalen Brunson and next to all these young players and sign a mid-level guy, and they could go into next season talking up the idea of winning 50 games. So like, they're not nearly as stuck as you seem, but the key right now, I think, is to resist the temptation to do the stupid thing, which, to their credit, say all the bad. And God knows I've said a lot of bad shit about them. Say all the bad shit about them you want. They have resisted the temptation to do the stupid thing. They've not done that yet. I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell was the stupid thing. Reasonable minds may differ on that, but they have not done the stupid thing. So,
yeah, clock starts for sure.
On that note, I will see y'all in a few.
Bye, John.
See you, John. I was worried. I was saying Flex King is like Flex, yes, go off King. No one. All right, whatever.
Your connection might have.
All right.
We've had some issues tonight, so I might not have heard it, to be honest. Regardless, thank you everybody for your contributions tonight. We're an hour 20 in, and we're nowhere near close to being finished with super chat, so we appreciate it. Chat's also suggesting trading for Garnett and Ray Allen is a suggestion, but to Jeremy's point, they had Paul Pierce. They had the first guy in house, so there's never been a team that didn't have anybody and traded for both guys, or at least not from memory, at least.
And I want to be explicitly clear, because that's not what I'm saying in terms of like trading for 2 guys. I'm talking about trading for a guy and then waiting and then trading for another guy, right? Because like the way that the Celtics leveraged what they were doing was they traded the 5th overall pick that year. That was a premium asset that they had, and they were able to fix it. And yes, because they had Paul Pierce in-house, they could then form what was that big 3, as you're saying. But yeah, it's more, my thought process is more like, when's last time you've seen, hey, let's trade for a guy and then wait a year or 2 and then trade for another guy and bring those 2 together? It really doesn't happen much, because it costs a lot to get the first guy. It's going to cost a hell of a lot to get the second guy.
You want to go full big brain with this? Because
sure.
John was saying, imagine if the Knicks had done the Mitchell trade and then sold Randall for a bag of balls.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a take on the pregame show that this week was the first time, because I feel like with RJ, when we've talked about how him and Randall don't fit, it's like imagine what RJ would look like without Randall. And RJ's just been so bad now on both ends of the floor. And like, I don't know if people are just afraid to say it. Julius has been good offensively. It is so much overshadowed by his defense that you can't fully acknowledge how good he's been offensively, but he's up in every single stat that matters. Effective field goal percentage, his best as a Knick. True shooting, his best as a Knick. Offensive rating, the best of his career. And you can't point out any of it because he's having the worst defensive season of his career and one of the worst defensive seasons for his position, at least in the league. And I'd have to do a deep dive on ever. But what if you just keep Randall and he's this in that version of a roster, which is probably what they were going to do had they completed a Donovan Mitchell trade.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my issue with the ideal trade that was in mind of like, all right, RJ and IQ and 2 first-round picks, that's not enough. Okay, need a third unprotected first. I drew the line at the unprotected pick for the third one. To me, it was less about RJ and even less about IQ. It was more about those picks and how important they're going to be because of Stepien, because you can't trade back-to-back picks. So, the moment that the Knicks put RJ Barrett on the table for a player like Donovan Mitchell, it just kind of inspired a thought of like, again, this front office didn't draft him. I don't know how confident I am that they want to retain him long term. And now, listen, there's nothing wrong with being included in a trade for a star like Donovan Mitchell. It's not offensive, but RJ wasn't the focal point of that. The picks were the focal point. And the goal for Danny Ainge, by all accounts, was that he wanted to flip RJ somewhere else. So how you do all of that, I don't know. But like, again, I think if you're a fan, you could say, well, the Knicks committed to RJ Barrett. They paid him. They want to keep him. Certainly a possibility. But with that said, I still can't help but wonder if the reason why the Knicks paid him, maybe part of it was because of the fact that they thought from a PR standpoint, we should extend him. I mean, they extended him right away. They could have let it drag out. But I don't think the Knicks, they've proven they don't really care about the dollar amount exactly. They care about the control. They had the control to trade Randall. They didn't, whether because they didn't want to or potentially more likely because they didn't want to pay more to get rid of him. They were fine just killing time because they don't care. That's fine. But with RJ, we just had a whole conversation. Since really April, May, about base year compensation, the bane of everyone's existence. You get that out of the way if you extend RJ Barrett. You just have difficulty trading him this year. And if they don't care about him this year, or they don't care about the team in terms of the winning record, then you start, July 1st with a clean slate, no restrictions on trading RJ if that's what they want. I can't help but feel like that's ultimately what occurs. But there's plenty of time between now and then, so we'll see.
We'll see. I am very curious because scouts have the same eyes we do, especially in the NBA. Has he rehabbed his value, at least offensively? That it's
RJ or Julius?
No, Julius. We were talking about how untradeable he was this offseason, last deadline, and now he's a legitimate, good offensive player. Has he rehabbed his value enough that the Knicks don't feel like they'd be selling too low or having to give up too much this deadline? Or is that a priority of this team? We'll never know because this president doesn't do press conferences, but I'm curious is all I'm saying. I have no idea what the plan might be as we explore the next 6 weeks.
For sure. I'd say in terms of Julius, listen, he's playing better than he played last year. And I know that's not, the bar was so low last year.
On the offensive end.
Exactly.
That has to be said on the offensive end.
Right. But then you look at it and it's like, we're another year. If we're talking about this offseason, for example, because I just don't think he's going to be dealt to the deadline. We're talking about the end of this year. It's 1 year less that's on his contract, right? So you have the 2023 season, the 2024 season. And a lot of people will point, oh, well, he has a player option in 2025. And to that I say, look, if he's playing well offensively and has his warts defensively, he's going to opt out of it, especially if there's a cap spike there. So what you're really looking at is, okay, it's likely to be 2 years that he's on the team. You can move someone with 2 years. I think it's just more likely closer to 1, or opts out and maybe the Knicks decide to operate with cap space that year. Who knows? There's so much time between now and then that it's hard to really pinpoint it. For right now, it's just kind of how I see it. Just like, let's look at the deadline. Then let's look at the off season and kind of go from there.
We'll see. Anthony Sixto, thank you for the contribution. In honor of Jeremy, positives. Cam is 70s smooth. Mitchell better at staying on his feet, and Brunson missed, but proved he can get his looks in the clutch. They will fall. Hashtag Brun phased instead of unfazed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a sad one. Hashtag Brun that got away. Anthony, you're killing it with these.
Loving it
this season. Love it. And listen, there's no version of the Knicks game that could get me down because the Jets are 7-4, and Mike White is my future king, might be my current king, who knows? But I lean more on your side, where like that was a brutal loss, but like to what you said and what Sean said, these are the losses you live with. You know, taking Memphis, who won 56 games last season. Yeah, they didn't have Bane, but you also had like nothing falling from three. You played the worst. You played the second best offensive rebounding team in the league, and you're the worst, or one of the worst offensive rebounding. You survived all of that and had 2 shots to win the game in the final 2 possessions. Like you'll take that and you'll live with the result, even if it is heartbreaking, you know?
There are 11 wins in total, and I can count at least 4, 5 already where it's like I can point to that being like, damn, that's the one that got away if it comes down to that. Like, this is much lower on the depth chart of I can't believe the Knicks didn't win that game. Would have been great if they had opportunities. But
wait, do you have games like that this season where you're like, can't believe that one got away?
Yeah, I think so.
So they should have won that Portland game.
Yes, that's one. I'd say, as I'm looking through the schedule, honestly, the original Memphis game hurt more.
Road game
I get it,
night
but
against Memphis, I can't.
I'm saying it's higher than this one, but it's not like up at the top. I really think that Cleveland game, I understand Cleveland's a better team, no doubt, but that was you were up 99-90 entering the fourth quarter. They just slipped away. The Hawks game for sure.
The Hawks game was the one I was going to say because they were up 20. And
yeah, this isn't in order. I'm just going through the games as
No, I know it's not in order. I don't have the Cavs game even on the list. The Cavs shot incredibly in the fourth quarter, and that's why they lost. The Knicks, like, that's going to happen against better teams. They
did, but I just didn't love how they were coached in that fourth quarter. I thought that was really rough. Like,
we were
again,
still
the
in
Cavs
the
were shot.
We were still in the era, I guess we call it, of Evan Fournier getting meaningful minutes on this team. So I don't disagree. We were very close to being rid of that. And what's funny is that the reason the Cavs started to come back in that game is because the bench got put in. Like, Fournier was actually decent in that Cavs game, and Julius was really good in that third quarter. And then it was a stretch of like 5 minutes where Kevin Love didn't miss, and it was all right, put the starters back in, and he waited too long.
But that's
regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my issue from the coaching standpoint, where JB Bickerstaff could predict how and when the Knicks were going to deploy that bench unit, and then they feasted on it. And then they took the lead, and then they never looked back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, look, so I don't know how much you subscribe. I talked about this on the pregame for those who are going to hear the same conversation again. I don't know how much you subscribe to the Pythagorean wins and loss predictor. The Knicks are supposed to be 9-11. They're 9-11. Like, I'm less outraged about this season because they're about as good as I thought they would be. And maybe give or take, if RJ was a little better, they'd be 11-9. But I can't. Today was a loss that was annoying and I guess hurt. They're 9-11 and should probably be around 9-11. I need them to win. This upcoming stretch when we get to predictions will be fascinating because we're at the point where everybody thought this is where they'll blow it up and this is when they'll fire Tibbs, and they might get to it at like 12-13, 11-14, which is fine, you know. And if they get to that, then the schedule gets easier. Or they go 9-15, and it's a much different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this going 3-2. I know it seems like that Thunder game was a million years ago, and yet it was still from the last time that was recorded. Like 3-2 on a tough road trip. That's how you save your job if you're Tom Thibodeau. And like, again, if we're talking about what we were talking about before, was like, I remember how John and I were saying like 4-8 would be a miracle for this 12-game stretch, and it's like they're just one win away from that happening, just hitting that point. And they still have the Detroit game and, the Dallas game coming up soon. So like there are opportunities for them to go 5-7 and against a lot of really good teams. That's good. That's really good.
I said it on Friday night that like I would take 11-14 through 25 games, which is the Detroit game, and get me one more win, which is why, if anything, that's why tonight was annoying to me, because there's your one more win. Steal one from Dallas, steal one from Cleveland. I'm not counting on that from Milwaukee, steal one from Atlanta, steal one of those games. You're 11-14 and your schedule gets so much easier after that. And you go from there. I guess it was it's been 14 minutes. I guess it was a quick hit with Dexter Henry.
It's one of those quick little spots. Can I get greedy?
Sure.
First of all, beat Detroit in Detroit. And Detroit's been playing better. Detroit had a nice win recently.
Shout out Alec Burks and Kevin Knox, baby.
Dude. Yep. Oh my God. Can I tell you, do we have any more? We have a lot more super chats?
We have a lot more super chats, but tell a quick story. We got time.
I just had a crazy thought earlier today or last night. I forget. It involves Alec Burks. What if instead of doing all of the machinations they did to open up cap space for Jalen Brunson this summer, the team just traded Julius Randle away either at the deadline or early in the summer for expiring salary? Alec Burks is still here. They traded RJ Barrett before they signed him to an extension early this summer for trade him to some other team who wanted to make a bet on him. So a team willing to give up a future unprotected first and maybe another top 10 protected first, which I don't think is insane that some team would give up a future unprotected first to RJ Barrett. And
back then,
before early in the summer.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah, back then. And go into this year where you have Brunson, all of the kids, and Alec Burks and Derrick Rose are your two veterans. How would that team be performing right now?
Well,
who is taking Julius Randle back?
The
way he was playing last year?
I mean, we heard the Kings rumors at the deadline. Now, the Kings obviously ended up shipping Tyrese Halliburton out.
That's what I'm saying. They chose a better option.
Yeah, but what if the Kings were like, yeah, we'll take Julius. You're not getting Halliburton, but you'll get, I don't know. I forget if the Kings had expiring salary. I guess it was just probably Bagley.
Plus, you had to take on Hield.
Oh, we could have taken on Hield.
Okay.
And then done the Lakers trade. How you doing?
Yeah, but then we're sitting here with Evan Fournier and Buddy Hield,
No, you ship Evan Fournier and Buddy Hield off to LA for...
And I don't think they do the deal because we're still months into the season. They still haven't traded Russell Westbrook.
Maybe not.
We might have been to this point. I hear what you're saying. It's wishful thinking, and it's a sound plan. It's also for Alec Burks. Just go get Alec Burks this summer.
I guess the genesis of my thought initially was Alec Burks got shat on so much last year, correctly, because he was playing point guard and you should never do that under any stretch of the imagination. But that dude still, on the right team, is a good solid veteran, guy who is for Detroit this year. He's doing the thing he should be doing, which is come in, making them look respectable. He's not going to win them so many games that he's going to, disrupt their tanking. That's a good dude to have.
Jeremy?
Yeah, kind of got to go with Andrew on this one. Yes, in terms of Burks being a good dude to have 100%. And I think that's why he fits really nice with the Pistons. But I don't know. I think that the way that if you accomplish that, I understand how all of the advanced metrics look, especially with Julius. You're basically finding a way to bottom out more because you're not going to have a lot of high usage players soaking up time. And I think that the front office is then more on thin ice than they would be right now. Because yes, even though you look at it, you're well, they would have potentially gotten a really great player in the draft. I'm yeah, it's certainly possible, but it's hard to kind of put a rookie in that position to succeed at first. And then there are enough factors where I see what you're saying. I don't think it's crazy at all. I just think it would be a lot of pressure on the team to do better, and I think they would just be stinking up the joint as they wait for Jalen Brunson to hopefully sign.
Can you imagine if they tried to use RJ to get Jaden Ivey?
Yeah, that would have been.
This fan base was not ready for that, and in hindsight,
But here's the problem with again, this is just fandom. When a player plays well, we don't want to trade them, and then when they're lowest, we want to jettison them. It's just it can't work that way.
No, I understand.
But RJ Barrett is him, Jeremy.
Stop. You sound like me.
Enough.
Oh, God. All right, let's keep it going.
Yes.
Huzzoo. Not sure when it will happen, but Grimes and Cam on the floor together is something I'm really looking forward to. Hope we could see it at some point. I'm not a Deuce guy, but like Deuce, quickly, Cam and Grimes, the four of those dudes, I just want to see them play defense for like 5 minutes. That's all.
We came close.
We didn't get that. I was gonna say, did we get that?
Oh, yeah, for the Portland game.
Okay.
No, because Cam wasn't in.
Right.
Shout out. Cam wasn't in. Right.
Close.
Obi was in instead. You're right. We got close. Okay. I was gonna say we got it for one possession because he put Deuce in for 20 seconds to guard Ja.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, what's going on, Sean? We didn't sell the farm from Mitchell because we wouldn't have enough to trade for the second star. What if we already have the second star? It needs to be the right number. I don't look. I love Donovan Mitchell, and obviously I love Jalen Brunson. You're not going to convince me that a team with Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell is competing for a championship. You're just with those as your top two guys. You're just not going to convince me of that.
I'm sorry. I thought Sean was talking about Ryan Arcidiacono as the second star. No, I'm with you. Yes, it's really hard to do that. That sounds like the makings of a really good regular season team, and then a team that just gets absolutely exploited in the offseason. That's why I felt like if you're going to trade for Donovan Mitchell, I don't think the Knicks have the infrastructure for it, but he's a star. I understand it. Then they got Jalen Brunson, and it just made a whole lot less sense.
That's another. I've had a lot of thoughts as I've been like biding my time over the last few days. But another one is like if you swap out RJ if you swap out either RJ and Quickly or RJ and Grimes for Donovan Mitchell on this same exact team, and you don't move Julius Randle, and Julius Randle is still getting the minute that he's getting on this team, I'm not sure they're a better defense. Maybe they're actually no. I'm just not sure they're a better defense. If everything else stays the same, especially if they lose Quickly. Quickly's probably been their best defender. He's played a lot of minutes. Their offense gets better. I'm sure they're a top 10 offense. So they're a better team. But like, yeah, there's a world where we'd be having some big worries right now. If they had made that deal.
Also, if that deal goes through, the Knicks are the 31st worst team in the NBA in defensive rebounding. And there are only 30 teams, mind you. That's how bad they would have been.
That's fair. Doug Grossberg, what's going on, Doug? You see how useless Julius Randle and RJ are at the end of a game in an offense run by Brunson. They don't spread the floor, and their defense doesn't help us get stops. Should Tibbs adjust his closing lineup? That I've spoken on this so many times. I feel like a broken record. To me, that is a test of organizational like fortitude and like what kind of cojones do you have as an organization? Because I don't think there are many organizations in the league that do that to their prominent players. Jeremy, butt in here because I think I'm biased on this, but yeah.
No, I'm with you. It just doesn't happen that much. You trust the guys who you've invested in. That's them.
Didn't it become a? Oh, sorry.
No, just like one of them, maybe on a different night, depending on how they're feeling, how they're playing, foul trouble, all these different things. But the odds of like regularly, without exception, not having both of them.
But I don't want to absolve Tibbs because, like, even if Tibbs was coaching like one of the best organizations, the Spurs or the Heat or something, where you could get away with something like that because nobody goes into those organizations and thinks for a second that they're bigger than the team, I still think Tibbs would go with his tried and trues because that's who he is. So I want to put the blame on Tibbs, but I also don't think that it's realistic to think that the Knicks are at a point as an organization where they're just gonna do something like that.
Yeah.
I'll add two things before we get to the next super chat. Didn't it become a story for like a whole weekend in Chicago when when
was a
his
national
face?
Zach
story.
LaVine was benched at the end of the Orlando Magic game.
Yeah, in a game that a certain unit came back and made a big push, and then Zach LaVine didn't come back in the game. They ended up losing the Bulls, and then Zach LaVine's in the postgame. Like, you put me, I'm the type of guy you put back in a game like that. Like, that's what you're risking. Now, Zach, like, neither Julius Randle nor RJ Barrett or Zach LaVine, but that's what you risk. It becomes a story if you bench a guy like that in a situation like that, and he decides to speak up.
He made it the story though, LaVine. He could have
but
just
that's
said,
my
"I didn't
point.
have." Yeah,
Like,
but it's more that yes, Donovan Donovan could have put him back in there, but LaVine also could have been more accountable, saying like, "Yeah, just didn't have it tonight." But LaVine has so much confidence in himself that he felt I should be out there. I'm our best player. So I'm not saying this as a disagreement with you, Andrew. It's more just kind of adding to it that
right?
he didn't help the case.
Shout out to Jalen Brunson, who's been much better than Zach LaVine this season. And when asked about not playing the fourth quarter of the Oklahoma City home loss, said the way I was playing defense, I wouldn't have put myself back out there either.
But I think that's my point, is that it probably was the correct call to bench LaVine for the way he was playing that game, to go with the unit that was working. And yet look at what it became. Like, that's why coaches stray away from it, to what you guys were saying. The other thing, people will always bring up that the Warriors benched Draymond Green in the finals. And here's what I will say. He benched him for like 4 minutes, and it was game 4 of the NBA finals. So here's what I'll say. If the Knicks are ever in game 4 of the NBA finals and Tibbs doesn't bench a guy that could have helped them, I'll admit you were right. He should have done that. But that's what I'll say.
At the same time, the Warriors are one of those special franchises that nobody is bigger than the franchise. And I think you could question and quibble with some of the ways that they've operated with certain incidents that have happened over the last few years. But I do think that they are one of those good organizations. The thing, I think, the point that comment is alluding to is like, Zach LaVine has a point to get up there and be like, hey, I made 2 fucking all-star teams. I've been one of the most efficient 25-point-per-game scorers in league history over the last 3 years. If you go through my stats, like, I had a bad game. Like, you can't bench me. Like, RJ Barrett and Julius Randle ain't Zach LaVine. They don't have that resume, you know?
Next up,
Greg Moran. What's going on, Greg? Just a tough loss. Third quarter drag was a bit too big of a hole. Yeah, there was a point at I think it was the late third, where like the Knicks offense was really making a push, and they just couldn't get any. This team doesn't get stops. Impressive to even get back into it, but a heartbreaker to come up short. Got a rebound. 27th in fucking defense. Unbelievable.
and to the Mavericks point that Jeremy made earlier, the Knicks are 3.5 games out of the 4 seed.
Yep.
Despite all of this, you know, RJ struggles, Julius's defense, being that bad in defense, being that bad in rebounding, worst 3-point shooting team in the league, 3.5 games out of the 4 seed.
It rings a little hollow.
Can't do that for Dallas. I understand they have Luka, but go 2 through 12 and then tell me how you feel, and then be like, well, they're only 4 games out of the 2 seed, you know?
Yeah. Dan Hidalgo, it feels like it's time to let Reddish cook more. I think he's
cooking fine.
Yeah, he's cooking fine.
Yeah.
Do you think the fact that he's not hunting for shots is a result of a lack of confidence or coaching? I think it's called playing within the offense. I think he's doing a beautiful job of playing within the offense. I think his attacking of closeouts are just a thing of beauty. I love watching every time he attacks the closeouts. Like, those are the shots he should be taking. And open catch and shoot threes. Like, you could, if you play enough minutes and you're on the floor with the right guys, you could score 20 a night attacking closeouts and hitting your catch and shoot threes in this league. You know, with a well-timed cut here and there without ever having a play designed for you to initiate offense. I'm not saying Cam isn't good enough to initiate offense, but I think for right now, we're like, we weren't sure if this guy was going to be in the league in a few years the way he played in the preseason. I'm very happy with where Cam is.
No small parts, only small actors.
Only small. Very well said. Requiem Gaming. Hello from the land of enchantment. Fun game. I would have been enchanted with a win. Me and you both. But a lot of good signs nonetheless. RJ was perfectly cromulent. Now that that
word of
wins
the
the
day.
vocab word
Yeah.
of the day.
Cromulent, acceptable or adequate? The continental breakfast was perfectly cromulent.
Is that
Cromulent.
that's the sentence they gave you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I had
Continental-
to.
I'm gonna
Look it up.
incorporate that in my vocabulary because that's
Mhm.
I may name
fantastic.
tomorrow's newsletter perfectly cromulent. Thank you, Alex.
That should be the tag for this podcast. Perfectly cromulent. There you
Yeah,
go.
I like that.
With a link to the definition in the
Exactly.
chat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or just link to a picture of a continental breakfast. Sam Garcia, why was Grimes not in down the stretch to guard Ja? I don't know. I wish I had a good answer for you. I don't know. Joe Vogel, so frustrating because we have some actually awesome individual defenders on this team, but that's canceled out by others who are just awful on at defense. I said at the halftime Zoom, and shout out to Jason. He pushed back a little bit, probably correctly so, but I was like, I think given how many minutes he plays, you could argue that Julius Randle is a top 5 most detrimental defender in the league, given the Knicks scheme and how like everybody has to, theoretically kind of play together and be on a string, and how teams just come in and know, like, if I move, if I pass the ball, like this guy's probably either going to get lazy or get confused. Bottom 5 is probably too strong, but like, and then when you throw in RJ's struggles this year, yeah, it's really freaking frustrating because those guys play a ton of minutes. And you look at the on-off numbers on defense, and they tell no lies.
I just can't help but feel when I see RJ and Julius together, where it's like, all right, if you moved one, you're left with the other one, obviously. But it's like if you got someone instead of RJ Barrett down the line who could quarterback the defense in a way that like makes Quentin Grimes just look like a good defender. And he is a very good defender, but someone who's just like, that's their bread and butter is just solid defensive chops. What does that do for Julius's defensive game? Like, to me, he then becomes, more of a glaring hole on defense, but it also makes me wonder, does he actually pick up the slack knowing he's the weakest link?
So. No,
maybe not, but it's more the thought process of you have 2 defenders right now who aren't defending. Or like, I don't mean to call them as like defenders, right? You have 2 players who are not defending, and it's collapsing in. And Jalen Brunson tries, but he's limited by his size and just the fact that he is not a naturally gifted defender. And it's all collapsing in on itself, and it's apparent with the 27th worst defensive rating. And it's why I just keep thinking about if you bolster that defense in some way by just improving the starting lineup down the line, because I still don't think Julius Randle is going to be the option for leaving. How does that impact him, and how does it impact the rest of the team? And if your thought process like it doesn't, it's fair, because what we've seen, it doesn't seem like there's a lot that motivates him. But I don't know. There's part of me that just can't help but wonder if he is the absolute weakest link, unquestionable, that he's not going to be like, yep, I can at least do a better job than where I'm at right now.
I don't want to. Oh God, how do I not sound like I have it out for this guy? I will just say this. I don't think it will make a difference. I don't think there is a motivation issue here with Julius Randle. That is my personal belief. You may feel differently. I do just want to cite, because if you look at the on-off numbers on defense, Brunson, like they're what?
I'm familiar.
Oh, I know.
I'll let you continue.
I know you. For anybody listening or watching who doesn't know, like Randall's at the bottom, not only of the Knicks, but he's at the bottom of the league.
Mm-hmm.
RJ is like a tick higher, but also at the bottom. And then Jalen Brunson is not, his defensive on-offs are also not good. He plays so many minutes with RJ and Randall that I think that needs to be factored into the conversation. And I just looked it up. It's not a huge sample size, so I don't want to make everything out of it. But in 193 possessions this year, so I don't know, give or take 100 minutes, the Knicks defense with Jalen Brunson on the court and Julius Randle off the court is giving up 93.5 points per 100 possessions. And that's non-garbage time minutes. Now, 93.5 would obviously be leading the league by a country mile on the defensive end. They're also scoring 117.1 to plus 23 net rating. How you like them apples? And most of those lineups, or at least a lot of those lineups, have RJ Barrett in them. So like RJ's defense has not been good this year, but I like RJ he's trying. Like he's doing the things that you're supposed to do, and he like knows where to go. Like he'll get beat on the occasional backdoor, but like teams aren't looking at RJ Barrett like as like with a target on his back. Like they may put him in pick and rolls, correctly so, because he can't get around a pick right now. But I don't think he doesn't kill you in the way that Julius does, and I think the numbers back that up. So I don't know.
We won't know until they do something.
Well,
yeah.
Before I'm dead, please. Frank Corona Jr., thank you for the contribution. I don't understand what they're doing. They're 11th. They're in 11th, and they've gotten lucky with injury matchups. Has it ever been more obvious for a team to trade their vets and focus exclusively on the youth? This is not last year. It's You want to take it, Jeremy? It's Julius Randle. That's the conversation.
Yeah.
You want to trade Julius Randle? So does everybody.
Well, it's Julius Randle and it's Derrick Rose.
Okay, 12 minutes
right.
a night that aren't very impressive right now. You know,
right?
It's like that's not fine. Get Derrick Rose out of here. It's not changing anybody's life.
Right. And now listen, if hopefully Emmanuel quickly is perfectly fine. If he does miss time, then you have to imagine, okay, is Tibbs going with a 9-man rotation? Or is he just going to go 10 men and have Deuce and Rose in there together? And then at that point, who is Rose really obstructing? Like, he's not obstructing Arcidiacono. He's not obstructing McCulloch. Like, that's the main point here. Evan Fournier, I'd like to see him move, but only in a deal that's right. If he's not in the rotation, then it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's just Julius Randle. And to an extent, I mean, obviously RJ Barrett's still on his rookie contract. I still don't think they're going to move him this year. Like, he's someone who's being detrimental to your team. And you're not going to move him, and you're probably not going to sit him, and you're probably not going to reduce his minutes significantly. So, like, what exactly does trading veterans do? As you're saying, John, it's primarily Julius Randle. And it's like, okay, well, you're trading Julius Randle for what? What are you attaching for it to be Julius Randle? It just feels like cutting off your nose to spite your face in some ways. I want Julius Randle to not be on this team longer. I am very much in agreement, but not at the price point that would cause it to be harmful for the Knicks. You could talk about the internal development. You could talk about Obi Toppin, all these things. I think they're valid points. But if the front office doesn't care about this year's team, I don't think we should care as much about it either. Naturally, we will, because we're fans. I don't mean that in terms of like, don't give a shit. I just mean that in terms of like, if they feel it's not about this year, then we should bring the same energy that it's really not about this year. And we want to watch it because it's entertainment and we love this team and we want to see growth in every which way, but not at the point in which it might hurt us in the long term. That's really it.
I will stand by what I wrote this summer.
Andrew.
I'm processing what you said. I don't have as much trust in the front office as you do to be like, well, if they think something, neither should we.
No.
I think they should prioritize.
We know
that's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about their energy towards it, right?
Mhm.
Not like I'm saying in terms of like, if they feel that we're good, we don't need to make any altering moves. No matter what we do, we're probably going to be around this range as long as Jalen Brunson stays healthy. Then there's no need to force it. That's all I'm saying. Not like
okay. So in total, I agree with that overall. I don't want to.
No, I'm not saying the front office knows all, and so we need to respect it. That's not my point at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not what I'm going for.
Let's be very specific about this, though. What you're saying as it relates to the comment is specifically this: the front office does not care enough about the fact that we have to watch Julius Randle lollygag through defensive possessions to make what they consider to be a bad Julius Randle deal at the expense of possibly having Julius Randle's workable, tradable salary available to them to make a deal that is far more palatable to them 3 months or more likely 7 months from now, which is their priority. That is their priority. Correct. Tomorrow's game or whatever the fuck they play next, Tuesday's game, Thursday, that is not their priority. It is the trade that happens 3 months or, again, more likely 7 months from now. That's what Jeremy's saying.
I got it.
But I just want to be very clear. I disagree with that. Get him the fuck off my team now.
There's the Obi Toppin part of this that
it's not even about Obi. I can't stand watching the guy anymore. It's fucking painful.
Wow. Again, this is how the juxtaposition works. You're the heart, I'm the head. We try to coexist here. And that's all the front office can do.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. But I do. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
It
I'm not saying you're
impacts
wrong.
your enjoyment, and it impacts mine too. I get it.
We call Julius a popcorn defender in my group chat because every time it's time to play defense, he just grabs his popcorn and watches it unfold, which is like accurate. The way these clips have been going on about have been being broadcast about him just watching plays unfold in front of him. All right, let's get these rolling because we're headed for a 3-hour stream if we don't.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna get them rolling. Max Cutler, do you think trading for a star is the right path to take, or would you rather than take another route? I'm nervous about giving up the future. They're all in on trading for a star. The only other path is tanking, and they're not going to tank. So why bother thinking about
Well,
it?
they could still be bad and finish with a bad enough record that gets them into a position to draft a player that they really feel has a high ceiling, and if the right star becomes available, then it's not black and white. That's all I'll say in response to Max's comment.
Things will have not gone according to plan if that's the way they go. Build through Taj. I know you quibble with that.
We can get into another time.
Love Cam, Grimes, and IQ, but there's no accountability right now, and this fan base is being gaslit into rooting for a play-in spot. Give me that top 10 pick instead. I would, if you gave me the choice right now to sign for either the 7th, yes, 8th, maybe, best lottery odds versus whatever this outcome of the season is going to be, I would sign for the lottery odds.
Sure. I just don't think it's gaslighting to the extent that is being displayed here. Like the team wants to win. They want to make the playoffs. That's their intention.
Yep.
It seems. So if that's what they want,
No, that's what they want.
I'm going to root for it, but I'm going to be totally fine if the team bottoms out and doesn't accomplish that and gets a good pick. And we can talk about, well, expectations, they fell below it. Like, yeah, well, there's a really nice silver lining and opportunity for them to like actually do something about this season and make it feel like, well, you developed well, you got a really good player here in Jalen Brunson. What more can you do next?
Yeah, well said. Sam Garcia's mom. This can't be a real bit.
I want the whole family in on this point. Sam Garcia's brother, Sam Garcia's grandma,
Wonderful.
Sam Garcia's lunch lady. Everybody's associated with Sam Garcia. I want you as part of our post-game chat.
Disappointing to see RJ continue to play hero ball instead of passing to the open teammate. #4 Rose Stan. Oh, okay. We got some Derrick Rose love. I don't know that I would define it as hero ball. He gets tunnel vision for sure. He like misses guys that he needs to pass to. He also has been making some nice passes. He just thinks the shots are gonna go in, which I get. That is hero ball. I get it. He thinks he thinks every shot's gonna go in. That's fair. Yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, he found Mitch on some nice passes.
He's been doing that since he came
into the
league.
Yeah, listen, you'd like to see more playmaking from him than someone like Quentin Grimes. As good as we can talk about Quentin Grimes, is just more a reflection of wanting RJ to be more than what he is.
And how about this? Quentin Grimes has been a markedly better playmaker from year 1 to year 2. I've not seen that development from RJ. That's the frustrating part. I'm
fine with RJ believing every shot he takes is going to go in. My problem is my problem is that it's the shots he's taking that he needs to ease up on. He doesn't need to take bad shots.
I know.
Keep the energy. That's fine. Just do better.
Yeah. There's a few that come to mind tonight. Juanon, what's going on? Salute KFS. So, Miles Turner signed with CAA. Please tell me that means nothing for us because I'm getting paranoid. And yes, I probably shouldn't have smoked the tea leaves, in quotes, after reading them. That's very funny. I don't think there's anything there.
More centers.
Yeah, I just
trade for more centers. Yes.
I don't see it.
I neither.
I'd be very surprised. Forgotten NYC. Losing Burks was quietly a big loss. Need his 3-and-D.
If you ask John, we should have mortgaged everything to make sure that
build around Burks.
Exactly. Build around Burks. That needs to be a team, a super chatter.
No one argued that Alec Burks was a good player when he was in the right role. He was an incredibly helpful player.
Of course he was.
He's not a guy you factor into your plans if you're the Knicks where they're at. So, but like Would he help them this year? Yeah, he would help them.
Whose minutes is he taking though?
Cam's, which is
Can
why
you
I'm
take RJ's?
very against the like. Yes,
But
Burks
if
is a
Cam's
big
not
loss,
taking
but,
RJ's
like,
minutes, then why
Cam's-
would Burks be taking RJ's minutes? You know what I
Right.
mean?
No, I'm. That was where my little dream scenario came from. It's because like in what world would Alec Burks be getting minutes for the 2022-23 Knicks be okay? It would only be a world in which like neither RJ or Julius Randle was here. That's
right.
where it came from. Anyway, Christian Cruz, are there any ideal trade scenarios you guys have in mind? Assuming we're at around 500 in February.
Can we get to February first?
Yeah,
Can we get to December?
Yeah.
Not just in
That's a good
just in
point.
life. I like not against you, Christian. I can't even think like the December 15th deadline's coming soon, and I can't even figure out what's what there. So much time between now and then. I know you're saying at around 500, but I think this team they're gonna be in the mix no matter what, most likely. At least I would imagine.
The most fascinating scenario to me personally would be if they are not 2 isn't enough. Man, 3 probably isn't even enough. If they're like 4.5 games out of 10th at the trade deadline, and they have deals on the table that are just straight like your team is not getting better. Like they are sending out talent, and they're getting back picks, like a young player maybe, but probably picks. What do they do? What do they do in that scenario? That is and I don't think that scenario is completely off the table. It would take a couple things happening. It would take the Wizards continuing to win. It would take the Pacers continuing to win. I don't think that that's nuts, though.
I was talking to Prez about this. He made a good point. Or I was thinking of like ways that the Knicks could operate where it's like, all right, yeah, you're moving, for example, like a Derrick Rose type player. And what Prez said, and I think it's true, is that the Knicks midseason have not necessarily gone the route where they're taking a step back in terms of like Tibbs and his rotation. Like first season, they added Derrick Rose. Second season, they added Cam Reddish, and they sent out in both of those trades players who weren't even in the rotation. So like it's now about like, if you're going to operate this deadline, are you adding to the talent level that you see? Because I think you could do both. I think there are actually players you could deal. And I've got some things in mind that I'll save for a little bit later. Like you could find ways to deal some rotation players and still make upgrades, and you're not losing a ton in terms of what you're giving up because you got some back on the back end for those other guys. But we can again dissect that more later. It's just I don't see them taking a step back per se. I think they'll try to stay neutral at worst. Hopefully, try to improve the roster at best in that case.
Yep. We'll see what happens.
Just gonna do a quick reset because we're in hour 3. Hopefully, it's not a full hour of hour 3, but
It
shout
will
out
not be.
shout out to all of you still watching. Real quick, shout out to the fine folks over at WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app now or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download, bet, win. Next up.
GD Nation, what's going on, GD? Y'all are too tough on RJ and Randall. It's too much. Agree to disagree.
I don't even think I've been that tough on RJ and Randall in general. They just haven't been performing. That's the bottom line. They need to do better. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't know where the blame is going if it's not on them too.
Yeah. Joe Vogel, if nothing else, I think this year is important to establish Jalen Brunson as a star to attract other stars. I don't. That's done. Everybody knows what everybody knew what Jalen. Every smart basketball player knew what Jalen Brunson was coming into this year. KD signs here in 2019. If they had a guy like him, I don't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
He's a star, and I think there's a real chance but I do think they need to stay around 500 for him to make the All-Star team.
Hope so.
Yeah, hopefully he will. Philly Jordan, the lack of shooting isn't recency bias. Last in the NBA in three-point shoot percentage, and our supposed good NBA shooter is 39% for 3 years. Who's that? Let's stop making this
RJ.
acceptable.
RJ.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't. Well,
that wouldn't be 3-point percent. No,
yeah,
the way I thought, because in terms of field goal percentage, although he's been early 40s, which isn't very good. I'm trying to figure out.
I don't to be very clear. I don't think the lack of shooting is recency bias. I do think the lack of shooting is something that will get better. Is the team structurally flawed? I've been saying the team has been structurally flawed for 2 months. They built the team around 3 guys who don't want to take threes. You can't have a team that is ultimately successful like that. They need to move off of one of RJ or Randall, and probably both at some point in the next year to 2 years. No one's disagreeing with that.
Yeah, especially just not at the same time in terms of them moving off. It would probably have to be one, then the other is supposed to two-pronged.
For sure. Mike Conrad, can RJ and Julius Randle's minutes be decreased without it hurting their trade value? I don't care anymore. I just want the team to win and play the right players. Again, this is bigger picture stuff that they care about. They are not, if you're waiting for them to play, neither of those guys will continue to start. And then ask yourself, if 2 players start together, which these 2 players will continue to do as long as they are here, that is never going to change. If 2 players start together, what is the fewest amount of minutes? And they're tied to $100 million contracts. What is the fewest amount of minutes that those 2 players can play together in an average NBA game? I would posit realistically 15. That's low.
Yeah.
14, maybe, if you're pushing it.
Well, we see it when RJ plays with the second unit. And that doesn't happen enough for it to be like, oh wow, they've really staggered it to such a degree. It just doesn't happen that much. Tibbs relies on his guys, and they are his guys through and through.
I'll give Tibbs this. Those dudes, I mean, they led the NBA in minutes played together certainly 2 years ago, and they were close last year as well. They started out this year playing 30 minutes a game together, and then on the West Coast trip, they only played 23 minutes a game together. Once you went to the 9-man rotation, their time together went down significantly. So it is clear that they know that this is not working, but I don't know how far you could push it. Are they going to keep playing 9 men?
I mean, that to me was because
Tibbs said that it's back to 10.
Yeah.
So
we saw 11 in the first quarter today.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, it wasn't, your standard 11, but exactly.
Yeah. Good question though, Mike. GD Nation, this team can win with 45 with 45 with RJ and Randall.
Over 2 years, 100%.
Jesus, Jeremy.
I'm kidding.
No,
I'm trying to lighten the mood. I know. Again, here's my issue. They have Jalen Brunson, who's been better than both of them, and the 2 of them together. And we have seen for 3 years that it's really not a great combination. And part of it was, get a suitable point guard who can actually help them. And we're still seeing it not work. Like RJ and Randall should have enough synergy by now where they figured it out. And just adding a point guard should help that. And it's not. It's just not the case. I say that as someone who is of the mindset, it's like, yeah, I could see the Knicks winning like 43 wins, but I also wasn't necessarily expecting RJ to play in every single game, or Randall's pretty much an iron horse. I mean, they both play a lot of games, but I just didn't necessarily see them playing every game together. And I think that's where they then, you try to get wins there. So I don't know, man, but I say no.
Again, I will point politely. Cleaning the Glass, wonderful website, has a wonderful metric. It's just they call it differential, which is the difference in how your team does against its opponent when players are on the floor versus when players are off the floor. And RJ Barrett and Julius Randle in those 2 metrics measure in the 11th and 13th percentile of the entire league, respectively. And when you look at how many minutes those guys have played, 600 going into tonight, 655 non-garbage time minutes for RJ, 625 minutes non-garbage time minutes for Randall. And then you look at the guys below them in that same metric. There's like a handful of guys that have played a ton of minutes this season. Not a lot. So this is what it is. The team just does not perform well when these guys are on the floor, and they really don't perform well when these guys are on the floor together. It's a shitty situation. D. Jones, Macri can't help but bring RJ up all the time. I don't. He's the most important figure in the organization, and he's playing abominably. Like the snowman, except the snowman is cute, or at least the snowman in the reindeer movie.
He has not been cromulent.
He has not been cromulent.
No. Abominable is a better word for it.
Abominable, yes. Robert Cross, first time. Hey, here he is. Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. Sorry, I was too busy in Puerto Vallarta. I can pronounce that. For the holiday to watch Randall's crap. Anything else new? Hashtag 53 wins. Robert, nothing is new. Sean Ford, people rightly criticizing RJ and Julius Randle on defense, but Obi was atrocious in the fourth. He's been very. Obi has not played well for a couple of weeks now.
No,
it just hasn't been good. He hasn't been hitting shots. He hasn't been finishing. He had one decent finish tonight. It just hasn't been good, and defensively it's been bad. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Clark treated him like a traffic cone 5 or 6 times. Every bucket counts. Yeah, 100%. It's tougher to kill Obi. A, because he's a bench player, and B, because he's a player on a rookie contract. Julius Randle's making $24 million this year. It's pay for play. So I'm sorry if Julius gets more criticism because of that, but he earns it. JJ, trade Julius to the Suns for Jay Crowder would solve quite a few problems. Hashtag JB is him. Would need to be a couple more players involved, but I would love to see that trade.
Yeah, I just don't think the Suns would. There are other options they can have that are
you never know
better. Of course, you never
never
know.
say never, Jerry.
You're just saying that because you want to
Never
believe
say
so
never.
badly.
It's so
Listen,
badly
I want to believe too, but there are better options out there that they can
I know.
acquire.
Robert Cross with another one. This is for Cutlets. I will look into Rocket Reach tomorrow. I don't know what that is. By the way, where are we shipping Randall? Any updates? Hashtag 53 wins.
Oh, thank you, Robert. And again, I don't think he's going anywhere this season. I just don't. Unless it's a neutral offer, as I've said. I just don't think it will be. So, yeah.
Matt Smith. John, if you're looking for a positive, yes, give me a positive. That Mavs pick is looking like he could be destined for 11th or 14. Pray to God it doesn't fall out of the top 10.
Mavericks lost tonight, by the way.
Hell yeah.
They're not going to be. The Mavs are not going to not make the play-in. There's not going to happen.
I mean, it takes an injury. That's all. That's all it is. Frustrating part is the Knicks now only have the 9th and the 15th pick because the Mavs pick is 10th.
Oh, he's 10th? Okay.
Yeah.
But
it's fine. You want to keep rooting for the losses because there are easier stretches of games that they will have where they will win.
Watch Luka get injured and the Mavs go full tank mode.
And then they get Victor. And then we just cry.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. Thanks, Matt. That did make me feel a little bit better. Sam Garcia's dad. Okay. The wife and I just returned from visiting our son, and she wanted to contribute to KFS. Thank you. Amazing bit.
Visiting our son. So he is a kid. I'm guessing he's in college in that
Probably.
sense. Or maybe he's a grown
Thanksgiving.
man.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wonderful. The
I don't know.
Garcias are the first family of KFS.
Yes.
Serious question. Is there no way to camouflage Fournier's defense and get his shooting in the game? None. The issue with Fournier is the version of Fournier that we saw this year was not the version of Fournier. Like, that dude had his soul taken from him. Like, Fournier could play decent defense. He wasn't doing it this year. And the fact that they have not given him a minute of court time since they made the decision to excise him from the rotation leads me to believe that you are never going to see Evan Fournier play another game for the Knicks again.
Yeah. Barring like significant injuries where they have to dress guys. And even then, Svi McKillock, baby.
I was about to say, I'd rather see Svi. Better chance he's with the team next year.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, though, that's probably not true with the contract situation. Better chance he has a positive impact on the team next year. GD Nation with one more. This is sadly. This is not the fan base that lets players figure it out. It's game 20. By game 40, Jalen Brunson will be called trash. Man, GD Nation, way to zag. This is this ultimate zag today.
Just like also not game 20 for RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. Like, we're on multiple years of this. Like, I appreciate the take of like pump the brakes. Like, it's a whole season. We're exactly a quarter of the way through, but this is a problem that's been happening for 3 years. You know, I understand if people are frustrated at this point.
Yeah. It's not only frustrating, it's concerning. The concern has to be real at this point. Busy. Best part of Brunson is we never have to see another late game Julius Randle ISO.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Well, ISO is the thing, Jeremy, because the play, I think, if Randle gets it, is like we saw it in the Charlotte game where Randle got it because there was gravity toward Brunson and he got a path to the rim and got a layup out of it.
No, I totally understand that. I'm just saying in terms of like Brunson was questionable tonight. If he sits a game, what happens in that case?
That reality. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson's not going to play 82 games. I don't think. Maybe he will. Good comment, though, Izzy.
My screen jumped. Give me a second.
Okay. I'm actually, you know what I'm looking up?
What's
that
up?
I'm curious about? I want to look up how the Knicks are doing this year in clutch situations.
Oh.
Because
as a team or individual players?
No, as a team.
And then look at how everyone else not named Jalen Brunson is doing.
Because last year they, as a team, they were god awful in clutch situations. Here we go. So in clutch situations this year, the Knicks have the 14th best clutch net rating in the league, plus 6.8. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, certainly an improvement over last year. Their clutch defense is 18th in the league. Their clutch offense is 9th in the league. Wow, that's pretty good. Kevin Danishevsky, substitute Pascal or OG for RJ and Randall. Championship team. We were talking about this earlier. I'll let you guys answer.
No,
I'll say no, but pretty good.
Better team. And
definitely better.
I'm guessing Kevin's talked to you, John, about his buy-in for Jalen Brunson is apparent, but his like better than Fred VanVleet, and to an extent, if you look at the numbers exactly right, better than Pascal Siakam, and it's why you put him on the Raptors in that role, and you know you get to see what he is, and I think neither team in a collection of players is a championship contender.
No, there's no one who's capable of being a top 10 player.
No.
At least performing like one.
No.
They're one superstar away from making some serious noise. But until then, they're kind of just where the Raptors are right now if they're healthy, which is maybe 6th seed in the East.
Yeah, 5 or 6 seed. I agree.
Good question, Kev.
What do you think, John?
I don't think they're quite there.
There.
I don't think they're quite there. Equals peace. Randall off the bench is the 6th man. Never in a million years with this franchise.
On the Suns, yeah, absolutely.
On a lot of other teams. I think on a lot of other teams, I think that's his NBA destiny. I think within 2 years, when he's off the Knicks, you're going to see him as a 6th man on a good team. That's his destiny.
Last but not least.
This is it? Okay. You got me scared with the 3-hour talk. Sam Garcia. Yes, I am a college student. I attend Ohio State. Hey, the Ohio State University. Very
rough weekend for you, Sam.
Yeah. Sam.
I don't know what happened.
Sorry about that. The college football games were played, and they played Michigan. The game, as they call it.
Oh, the game.
And Michigan won 43-22.
No,
Jeremy?
24.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Sam.
I was watching it on my phone with my future father-in-law at the Rangers game because we thought the third period of the Rangers game was not going to matter. They were up 3-0, and then Edmonton scored 4 goals. John, I know you don't have Instagram, but I tagged you on Instagram this weekend.
No, I do have it. I just don't open it.
I know you don't know how to use Instagram, but I tagged you in a story because they were having fun in the in-house entertainment with awkward dance cams and intermission shootouts between children. And, I knew that you would hate that. You would tell the kids to go sit down and watch the Zamboni machine.
I would hate it, and I do hate it.
I know.
Let's give out some game balls and detentions and do predictions. Get out of here.
Game balls.
All
These are
right.
candidates. John, read them.
Jalen Brunson, Emmanuel Quickly, Jericho Sims, Mike White. Jeremy, you go first.
Jalen Brunson, easy, boom. As always,
I will go. It's tough because Jericho Sims didn't even play tonight.
It's a whole week.
What?
It's a whole week.
I know, but he didn't play tonight. I'll go Emmanuel Quickly. I hate that he got hurt tonight, but he was playing well tonight. And he was the second best player on the floor against Portland. And I really, 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 really hope Emmanuel Quickly is okay. Because, man, tonight he hit like 2 threes, right? Or am I imagining that? No, he hit 1 3. He hit his only 3 tonight. He had a couple threes the other night. I think he's about to go on a run. It's just he needs to stay healthy. All right, detention. I go first.
These are the candidates.
The candidates are RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, perpetually, apparently, Tom Thibodeau, or the ABL. The ABL.
American Basketball League. It was a league that died off in the mid-'60s.
Okay.
But
instituting the three-point line in their league in 1961, which would be adopted by the NBA in 1979, all leading to the Knicks being unable to shoot it 42 years later. Thank you
if
for
the
that.
three-point line didn't exist, we wouldn't have these problems, John.
Sure. It's like Sophie's Choice. Take both kids.
Dark.
Jesus.
Julius, now and forever.
Oh.
Okay. Well, easy. Tom Thibodeau. I'm kidding. I just wanted
Yeah.
to see the reaction on John's
Get the
face in
rise,
case he broke, but he did not. Yeah. RJ.
I don't know. Bench and grinds tonight was pretty bad. All right, predictions. I suck.
So you're
You were so
0-7?
close with that Blazers game.
Oh my
And
god.
but after the Thunder game, I thought, all right, John's gonna win because I think they could get the Blazers game, and then they just.
So what am I 0-5?
Yeah, and I mean, I would have gone 1-1 with that first week, but we'll hide that because it wasn't official, so we're good. But yeah, so you're 0-5. So what do we have here?
We have
got-
Tuesday
yes.
at Detroit, Wednesday Milwaukee home, Saturday Dallas home. That's a 12:30 start time for anybody planning your Saturday plans around the Mavs Knicks game. And then Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel as this week, Cleveland, 6 p.m. Home also.
I am going to go with 2-2.
Knew you were going to do that.
Yes.
I can't say 3-1, can I? Jesus Christ. Killing me here. At Detroit, Milwaukee, Dallas. Man, they played Dallas well. And they owe Cleveland one.
We'll say 3-1 does get the Knicks to what exactly, John?
Your favorite number.
500.
500.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 1-3
Uh-huh.
because I could see them going into Detroit and losing. And then coming back and like beating Milwaukee and be like, oh, okay. That was, hey. And then losing to Dallas and Cleveland. Like the odds that they win 3 of these next 4, I could see that too. I want to say 3-1, and I think 3-1 is possible. I'm going to go 1-3.
Jeremy, were you trying to get him to take 3-1? Like,
Yeah, I was.
mind games with him. Because
But I also thought
1 and
but
3 is the obvious pick if it's
but
not
here's-
2 and 2.
But I think there's something to be said of what John is saying, where the Cleveland game, there's going to be a lot with Donovan Mitchell and the the game back in New York with the trade and everything, and the Knicks wanting to stop him. Yeah, 3-1's a tall task.
I
but
mean,
I could see it happening for sure.
let's just acknowledge this team has a worse net rating than the Los Angeles Lakers right now.
Yep.
The 25th in the league in net rating. Here are the teams that by point differential the Knicks are better than. The Spurs, the Pistons, the Rockets, the Magic, and the Hornets, a.k.a. unequivocally the worst 5 teams in the league. The Knicks are better than the worst 5 teams in the league, who have been the worst 5 teams in the league by a considerable margin. And also, by the way, those teams account for 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Knicks wins. Right? They beat Charlotte once, Orlando once, Detroit twice. Yeah. I'll go 1 and 3. And with that, we're out. Thank you, GMAC.
You're welcome. The Jets are 7-4.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Sorry,
Congratulations at 7-4.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
The Giants are 7-4.
Yes. Not you didn't want to be, but the Giants are 7-4.
It happens.
Thank you to our friends at WynnBet. One more time, go make sure you download that WynnBet app if you want to play some sports wagers, sports stuff.
Do the thing.
Yes, download the WynnBet app or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Hopefully more than the Knicks. Sign up today to receive a special offer. The special offer is real, by the way. If you're just waiting, just get the special offer. Bet $100 and you win $100. Download Bet Win. Thank you everybody for listening. Everybody stayed with us for this whole thing. God love you, and hopefully Knicks get a couple wins this week. Talk to you soon. Peace out.
That's a 7-4.